Welcome back, guys. It's another night of 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. We're going to be giving away a super special cocktail mug from Cursed Idol tonight to one lucky winner. So good luck. These actually do go on sale, I believe, tomorrow, and you can get all the information on Instagram at Cursed Idol. These were made by Patrick and Ashley in Florida, Monkey Skull, and the Swizzle is from Kim Bang. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We have an awesome guest planned, Typhoon Tommy. Typhoon Tommy actually was kind of the start of these live streams in one way. He did a Tiki Chronicles years ago, right after we launched the Search for Tiki website, and we were on his show. And I'm super excited to come full circle and have Typhoon Tommy on 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. A couple quick messages from our sponsors. Plantation Rum. Thank you so much, Plantation, for sponsoring all of these videos. Tonight, I am not drinking the Sigil of Protection cocktail made by Mixing Up Tiki because I ran out of mint. But I will be enjoying this XO 20th anniversary rum, sipping rum. We're also sponsored by Don the Beachcomber. Don the Beachcomber is coming back to Florida. Don the Beachcomber obviously is a huge icon in Tiki. We're super excited to have them back, and the rebirth is coming to Florida. So that's something to look forward to. And of course, our guest last night, Holden Westland from Tiki Farm. He is another sponsor of 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. He's been super supportive of the Search for Tiki from day one. We love his cocktail mugs. We love Holden Westland. So go back after this interview and check out our interview with Holden Westland of Tiki Farm. With that said, let's get Typhoon Tommy in here. What's up, buddy?
Jamming out, man. I was jamming out. That was nice.
That's the theme. 13 Nights of Tiki Frights, baby.
I love it.
I'm excited, dude. I'm excited to be talking to you. I've had the pleasure of meeting you several times, and some of these interviews are with people that I've never met before, and I get a little bit nervous. But you,
good to see you again, buddy.
I know Tommy, and I know you're a solid dude. Not that anybody is not a solid dude, but I'm particularly excited to chat with you again.
Me too, man.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's been, I think, three and a half, 4 years since Tiki Chronicles.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be early 2020, probably April or May that we did that.
Time flies.
Yeah. Remember those times?
I do. You know, you say that. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there are lots of things from those times that I don't necessarily I do kind of miss. I miss the zero traffic. I miss the no crowds at Disney World.
Yeah.
I miss paying $180 to stay at the yacht club.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, you're making good points.
Kind of weird, you know, but
I miss waking up at 11.
Yeah. You don't do that building tiki bars?
Not so much anymore. Especially when you go into business for yourself. Those days kind of fall away.
Was that about the same time? I think it was, right?
Yeah, so I was working for Universal Creative up and through quarantine, actually. And I was supposed to go to Beijing, which is why my wife and I got married in February of 2020, because I was supposed to leave in March to go to Beijing. And then, you know, chaos ensued, and they kept us on all through quarantine. And then they brought back just a few of us to finish up the Harry Potter stuff for China. And then they closed our shop down, which was kind of the catalyst for me going after what I love. So instead of jumping into another scenic shop,
good things sometimes come from unfortunate situations. You know?
Absolutely.
Like that cliche of when one door closes, another one opens.
100%.
Always terrifying when it happens.
100%.
100%. But, you know, sometimes it works out.
Yeah.
Doesn't always work out, but thankfully. I mean, you're working on the Mai Kai, so that's pretty dang cool.
Not too shabby.
What did you do? So when you were at Universal on Harry Potter, what were you working?
I've been a scenic artist, since the very first Hogsmeade. So probably like 2010 was when I really started in with Universal Creative. I had done some scenic stuff before that, Before that, I did pyro and special effects for Universal, and I was always around like the Halloween Horror Nights crews that were building the houses because I was doing special effects in those. And I really just loved what they were doing, so I kind of followed that path in my life and found out I was kind of good at it. So did all the Harry Potter as a scenic artist. So, you know, building all the props that goes in the windows, the statues and the corridors. I've done like 7 Ford Anglias and 9 Hagrid motorcycles, you know, doing the theme parks across the world.
Did you have any idea like what you'd be doing on a given day, or was it just like, hey, today you're gonna build, you know, a window scene?
I mean, it would be like every, you know, couple of weeks they'd be like, hey, this is what you're gonna be doing for the next month. You know, you've got 3 weeks to finish destroying a perfectly good 6419 or Ford Anglia, which I joked around with the art director, who was actually the art director from the movies, Alan Gilmore. And I was like, if this was like a 57 Chevy in this movie, there is no chance in hell I could be the guy that jumps on the hood and there's no way. I mean, I don't have like an emotional.
Bad mojo.
At the time, I didn't have an emotional connection to Ford Anglias. Now I do. I love them. But yeah, it was kind of hard as a classic car fan beating up like a perfectly good Ford Anglia.
I think I have this photo here. Is that from the time?
Yes, it is. That actually, I learned how to do a forklift age. So we needed to get those long lines on the sides of the doors and in the car, but they needed to like follow exactly what was on the movie car. I mean, they're exact replicas of the movie cars.
Okay.
So I learned how to do that with the blade of a forklift, which is kind of a new way of aging.
That's easy to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately, it worked out.
Yeah, there's not a replacement car, so you better do it right.
Did you get to see like a lot of the props? Like, would they send the props in, or did you just have to go off the movies?
Absolutely. Well, we did a lot of kind of like studying the backgrounds of a lot. I mean, I watched all the Harry Potter movies 100 times just watching the backgrounds. But we'd always get kind of photos and content of things to really you know, use as reference material. A lot of times we would get actual things and we could make molds of those, so they'd be exact replicas of the other things. But yeah, this is down to every bit of rust. Actually, when I did the grill on this car, I counted the actual movie car and figured out like it's 10 up and 4 over, and that's when you start that gash, and then you go drop down 1. It's exact. I'm psychotic when it comes.
How long do you think do you remember how long it took you, like, to destroy a car?
It's funny. I think the first one took me like 4 or 5 weeks to do. And then.
Wait, how many cars did you destroy?
I think I did 7. I can't. It was a lot. Because there was, Beijing had 1, Hollywood had 2, Universal had 1, and then it did a second one for the new Hagrid ride. There's 5. I did 5. That's better. That's easier to swallow. Yeah, I did 5.
Bad karma.
What's funny is so the first one I had done for if you go to Universal Hollywood, it's in front of the castle and it's on a rock, and it's, you know, took me like 4 or 5 weeks to do that one. And then my boss, Eric Baker, was like, they want a second one. They want another one to put in front of the Potter store, you know, in the park. You have 3 weeks. And I'm like, it took me 5 to do the last one. How am I going to do it in 3? He's like, you'll figure it out. And I did.
Well, now you know what you're doing, right? So
yeah.
By the time you did the last one, you had 24 hours.
Exactly.
Get it done.
This flies out tomorrow.
That's I mean, it's got to be pretty cool to have been a part of that, though. And I looking back on time, things always get kind of fuzzy. But when Hogwarts was being built, or Hogsmeade, or the Wizarding World, I think is what they call it, right? It seemed like kind of a seismic shift in the theme park industry, like
100%.
Like game changer, you know. And I don't know if we'd have Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. I don't know if we'd have. You know,
no, it was a call to action for all the theme parks. I mean, Disney really kind of had to stand back and go, oh my gosh, you know, we broke the mold. We set the bar. They created an award to give to Universal for that. It's called the Paragon Award and the Themed Entertainment Awards. Like they have TEAs that you can win for things, but the Paragon Award was something that they came up with. Actually, Tony Baxter was one of the main guys that came up with. We need a whole new class of award for this. It's this achievement. It was so huge. So it was cool.
It's impossible to overstate the gravity of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and the theme park industry for sure.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty cool that you were part of that.
It was a great place to learn how to do amazing things.
How did you?
Amazing team, amazing crew, amazing leads. It was crazy. It was lightning in a bottle. That whole time.
Going back a little bit, have you always been handy with power tools? Like, how did you get the gig at Universal in the first place, doing cool stuff and distressing cars? Like, what was your initial background?
I've done a lot of things. Like, I'm from Los Angeles originally, and I moved to Orlando in 2004. And when I was in LA, I drove an ice cream truck. I did pest control. I fixed sliding glass doors. I worked for Warner Brothers as a courier for 4 or 5 years. I did real estate for a while. I mean, I just kind of went everywhere trying to find out what it is that my heart sang to and what I really wanted to do with my life. And then I moved to Orlando. Actually, my parents had moved to Orlando in 2003. And I waited a year, and then finally I was just kind of done with LA. I was 27. I was kind of over it all. And I just wanted something kind of changed. So I just came out here to kind of try something new. And it's funny, it all started with the tiki, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Okay. So, that was one of my questions. What was your first exposure to tiki?
I wished I would have sent you this picture because it is a hilarious one. But it was the year that Florida got 3 hurricanes. It was Francis, Jean, and Charlie, I believe. And I came here after Francis and Jean, I believe.
Dude, you got a good memory.
I don't.
Or you're just making stuff up.
It was right after Jeremiah.
Someone fact check Tommy.
Us Floridians, we remember the big ones. It's okay. If LA named earthquakes, they're the 94 quake, that kind of stuff. Anyways, so the hurricane came through, and my parents were a little kind of nervous because it was their first big hurricane, and we wanted to board up the windows. But my mom really wanted to look out the window still. She's like, I don't want to cover up the windows. I want to watch because the hurricane's exciting. And we decided to cut some holes in the plywood that we put on the window. And I was on the second floor of the house, and I went out and got some Sharpies, and I drew a giant tiki face because it had 2 rectangular eyes on it. So I drew this I called it the Tiki Storm God, and it had a hurricane symbol on his forehead and big mean face. I wouldn't like the tiki now because I'm bougie, but at the time it was awesome. And my dad had these silver clip lights, shop clip lights, and they had red bulbs for some reason. And I was up in the second story of the window before the hurricane came, and people would be walking their dog, and I would just follow with the eyes. A car would drive by, and I would follow them. I had no friends. I just moved here. I was bored. And one of the neighbors came over, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, my husband and I have been laughing about this. And what is this?" And my mom's like, "Oh, my son, just moved here, and he made this thing for us," and yada yada. So I come downstairs, and she's like, "This is hilarious. What are your plans? Are you looking for work? Are you hanging out?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I mean, if something comes up, maybe." She's like, "Well, my husband, Steve, does pyro and special effects at Universal, and they're hiring for Halloween Horror Nights." And I said, "Go on. Please give me more info." So basically, blow stuff up for a living. And as a 27-year-old kid, I felt like I just landed in Valhalla. So I started working for Universal, and I found out that I was really good at special effects. They wanted things to spin and jump and squirt and, fog and all that stuff. And once I learned the components that I could be using, whether it's solenoids and ASCO valves and stuff, I kind of was able to mentally figure out how things should work with timers and whatnot. And I had some great guys that I worked with in there that taught me a lot, but I just kind of had a knack for it. And I just fell in love with, you know, doing that kind of work and working with the tools and working with my hands. And I fell in love with it. So that's
Did
kind
you
of
have
where
the? It is 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. Did you have the love for Halloween when you started working at Universal or perhaps not?
Yeah, I mean, I had a big group of friends in LA that I grew up with from like 3rd grade on. And we used to go run around every Halloween, you know, a big group of like 15 of us or 20 of us or 10 of us. You know, when you get older and you start terrorizing houses at 3 o'clock in the morning by smashing their pumpkins and all that, you know, crap kids get into. So I always had fun with Halloween. But it wasn't really until I got to, there was like Not Scary Farm. And, you know, there was Halloween Horror Nights out there. And I remember going to that once and it was awesome. But yeah, it wasn't really until I got into like Halloween Horror Nights here that, yeah, I really fell in love with doing that kind of stuff. I was the chainsaw tech for, I think, 5 of the years. So I was in charge.
It's a special breed of person to work on the chainsaw special effects. Okay.
Yeah, so I would do all the special effects leading up to Halloween, like putting them in the houses. We start in like September or August or so, building the houses, and then once Halloween kicked over, I would take over the chainsaws. So I was the guy that like running around in a golf cart. This was back when it was 2 parks wide too. So it was in Islands of Adventure and at Universal. And, you know, all those crazy kids are yanking those pull cords and they'd rip them out of the machine and, you know, they wouldn't start or the gas ran out. So I was a chainsaw tech for a long time and it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun.
Back in the good old days.
And not to mention too, just the whole creative side of it all. So my dad worked for Lockheed in the Skunk Works, but he was always doing a train or 20,000 Leagues. He was obsessed with 20,000 Leagues from the moment it came out when he was a kid in 1955. And
it's my kind of man.
It has been a staple in his life. He's always had some length foot, you know, of a Nautilus that he's working on, or it was trains. So I always grew up around model building and weathering and aging and, you know, just kind of problem solving creatively. And I mean, he took my Castle Grayskull and completely like weathered and aged the whole thing. So I was the kid that had like Snake Mountain and Castle Grayskull, but like it all looked real. It wasn't like, you know, all plastic. It was awesome. So
back in the day, that's what separates, you know, the boys from the legends.
Yeah, exactly. I have cool tools, cool toys. I just wasn't allowed to touch Star Wars. That's all.
I got a photo here. Might be somewhat related. Of a diving helmet.
That is my father and I. So this kind of goes into a really funny story. I was working for Creative, and I had a really good friend of mine, Dave Hardiman. And Dave, I had worked on some Imagineering projects with. I worked for Creative for a while until we finished Hogsmeade, and they let us all go for a few years. And we all had to forage for our own, you know, meal, trying to find other work. So I did a lot of stuff for Disney through some different companies, and then we all came back for Diagon Alley. While I was working on those Disney projects, I did Star Tours, the rehab of Star Tours, and I met Dave Hardiman. He was the project lead on that project, and we became really good friends. So when I started working for Creative again, you know, we'd hang out and have a lunch every now and then, and we'd always kind of like, "What are you working on?" "I don't know. What are you working on?" "I can't tell you." "I can't tell you either." And I was like, "I might have heard a rumor that you guys are doing a tiki bar." And he's like, "You maybe have heard a rumor that we're doing a tiki bar." So he's like, "All I can tell you is that it's 20,000 Leagues themed." And I was like, "Do you know who my dad is?" And he's like, "No, who is your dad?" I'm like, "He's like the national guru of all things 20,000 Leagues. You have to use Rich Allsmiller." And he's like, "Interesting. Okay, well, we have one project that, you know, maybe we could talk to you about. I'll let you know when it comes up." And Hardiman goes back to Imagineering, and they're having their meetings. And this is when Trader Brandon, I didn't know him at the time, but Brandon was working on Trader Sam's as well. And Dave would go, "Hey, Brandon, when we get to the dive helmet, I got a guy." And Brandon, who did the original Sam's and also did that with Kevin and Jody. And Kevin and Jody and my parents are very good friends. My dad's done some Disney projects like the Nautilus and the Mr. Toad car and the monorails and all those things for the Disney's anniversary back then. And he goes, "I got a guy." And Dave's like, "Okay, well, we'll talk about it later." A couple weeks go by. Dave's like, "Hey, we're getting ready for that dive helmet. I got a guy, remember?" And Brandon's like, "Don't worry about it. I got a guy." "Okay, well, my guy might be better. I don't know. We'll talk about it later." And then it finally gets down to it. "Okay, we got to get this going. Who's your guy?" He goes, "Rich Allsmiller." "Oh, that was my guy."
He's the only guy. He's
the only guy.
He's the only choice.
So my dad and I did. My dad did the helmet and all the attachments and all the hoses and the film reels and all the building of the helmet. And then that helmet came to Universal Creative, and I painted it on my desk at work with Universal Creative paint, maybe. So I did the scenic painting on it.
Just a little bit of a tangent, but here's one thing. Like, you think of Disney, you think of Universal as very competitive, right?
Yes.
Like, they are arch enemies in some ways in the theme park industry. But at the same time, it seems like a lot of people that work at Disney work at Universal. And they
very
kind of go back and forth.
Very, very incestuous.
Is that a competitive thing or?
Sure. So my boss, the guy who created the Universal Creative Prop Shop, is a guy named Eric Baker, and he's like family to me. But so Eric created the prop shop out of necessity because we were all working at a scenic shop in Winter Garden, Florida, and we were doing all the snake heads that are inside of the Forbidden Journey ride. We were doing all the statues, and we were about to do the giant Salazar Slytherin face. And the shop went bankrupt and was closing down. And Alan Gilmore, who was the art director for the theme parks, he was also the art director from a couple of the movies. Amazing guy. He went to Eric and he's like, "Look, that shop is the only shop that understands what we're doing." My boss, George, at the time, George Jacobus, he really just knew what to do as far as the aging and like how to create these props and really put like the heart and the love into them that they deserve. And the shop was going to close down. So Alan goes to Eric and goes, "Eric, you need to gather all these guys before they scatter off into all the other scenic shops. And you need to create a shop at Universal. I'll help you talk to the powers that be to make sure that we can set up a temporary shop. We need to get all these guys in there and we need to employ them so they can continue on what they're doing." And that's kind of how the Universal Creative Prop Shop started. So we did all the stuff for Hogsmeade. And what was great about it too is now they have the ability to like kind of add things instead of having to go through all the contracts of like the bids and, going out to the other scenic shops and trying to find the people that do it. They can just be like, "Hey guys, it's a pop-up thing. We need it done by the end of the week, but we're going to, make these plates spin." I don't know. So they had a big benefit by having all of us in the shop. And then when it was over, they're like, "Thank you for your service. We appreciate it. And you're free to move about the castle."
That's another one of the tough aspects of being an Imagineer, or I don't know if there's an alternative word with Universal, but just the like being employed. Now you're not, because the projects come and go. It's not necessarily.
So what's kind of funny about that? So that is where Eric did such a good job on the Harry Potter project, the first one, that Disney came in and made him an offer he couldn't refuse to come over and work on a Disney project. And he jumped over and started working for them and doing, they want that Harry Potter quality. So they went after, one of the guys that was kind of like the catalyst on making sure that it looked right. So they went and grabbed him.
Makes
and
sense.
Then when Diagon happened, Creative was like, "Hey, we're doing another Potter. Are you done playing with the mouse? We need you." And they brought him back over. And we did Diagon. And then Diagon was such an amazing success that when they were doing Galaxy's Edge, Disney called up and they're like, "Eric, we need you." So Eric did all the props in Galaxy's Edge. And if you watch it's one of the things on Disney Plus. There's a whole thing where they kind of like interview the making of Galaxy's Edge. And there's a scene with Eric talking about all the stuff that he had done, and he's a really amazing. Oh, it's called One Day at Disney. So they did a book, One Day at Disney.
Okay. Yep.
And you want to search for him?
Yep, got
Pretty
it.
soon. So I love you guys.
The stage hand.
Beautiful hands, yeah. So yeah, he went over and so if you watch that thing on the Day at Disney talking about Star Wars, he gets a little emotional because he's so tied into like the emotion of the theme park and when you walk in there and how you feel and how it affects you, and it's that touch that you really need to have in order to captivate an audience and to pull people in and make them leave thinking that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I'm almost crying right now.
Oh boy.
He's towards the beginning.
Oh, he's towards me.
Like around there. Anyways, yeah. I think that's where we were talking about. How am I good at tools? Yeah.
So, okay. No. So I think the question, let's see, I can go back and pull it up. That was a tangent, dude. We're already almost 30 minutes in here. We haven't talked about Tiki.
This is what happened when we did our thing,
This is what's
too.
going to happen with Typhoon Tommy. It's like, yeah.
This is what happened when we did ours. It went on for like, what, 3 hours, I think? Yeah. Buckle up, guys.
Okay.
We're going in. Oh, yeah.
What was the... Okay.
So here's Eric.
Okay. What page is that? If you want to find it.
That is page 72.
72.
Yeah, kind of a little story about him. Amazing guy.
So, okay. So the question that we started answering, what was your first exposure to Tiki culture?
I would suffice to say that I was born into it because my mom and dad, for their honeymoon, went to the Polynesian resort at Disney. And that was their big honeymoon.
Wow.
And then they decided that every anniversary that's what they would go do. They would go to the Polynesian every year. So they are at the Coral Isle Cafe, which is now called, what's the upstairs restaurant? Kona Cafe. So Kona Cafe used to be called Coral Isle Cafe. And my dad's up there waiting for my mom. And my mom isn't feeling good. And she finally comes up to breakfast. And she goes, I think I'm pregnant. So I was announced at the Polynesian resort.
There you go. You came out drinking cocktails.
I haven't stopped. So
All right. So
and then, so, I mean, yeah, we weren't. It was all Polynesian. We were a very Disney family. We'd go to Disneyland every Friday night growing up. So I mean, I grew up in theme parks. Actually, the first time that I noticed scenic painting, I was probably about 10 years old, and I'm standing in line for the for the Matterhorn. And I stood in line for the Matterhorn a million times, where it used to wrap around the mountain. And I'm looking at the rock, and I look a little closer, and I see that it's just different colored dots. And it's, there goes the boat.
Bye, boat.
That's the River Queen going by. So anyway,
get out your red lights and your flyboard. That won't creep anyone out.
So I was looking at the mountain and I saw that it's all different colored dots, and I was like, oh my God, that's paint. And that's when I realized it's not a mountain. I guess, you're kind of naive at the time and you take it in, you're like, oh my gosh, it's a big mountain. And then I realized that it's paint. And then I look up at the gigantic mountain. I'm like, that's a lot of paint. And then from that moment, I started looking at theme parks differently. I used to walk around and I'm like, how'd they make that? How'd they make that? How'd they do this? What's that? How'd they make that? Yep. It's kind of like, that first mental explosion.
So when did you go? You were born into Tiki, drinking cocktails out of the womb. You observed Big Thunder Mountain. You're like, wow, there's a lot of effort that goes into this. When did you transition from that, casual appreciation of Tiki culture to making something? What was your first Tiki build?
My first Tiki build was actually, I got asked to do a art show called the Horns to Heroes Project. And it was it was a kind of like a help save the rhinos thing, where like you build something and then it gets auctioned off. And a lot of people would kind of like just paint their rhino. You've got a big plastic rhino about this big, and everybody would kind of like take it and paint it and do their own little twist to it, make it into like a steampunk rhino or however. I really wanted to do a Tiki rhino. So I took my rhino and I cut him up. I cut his arms and legs off. I cut his head off, and I repositioned him. repositioned the whole thing so he was standing. And then I sewn a little tiki shirt for him to wear and made a little lei. I think I made a straw hat, and I made a little used epoxy sculpt, and I made a little Doug Horn mug with the straw and with ice cubes in it. And I put it in his hand, and then I built him a hut. So he's standing in front of a hut, and I hand carved all the trim work, and I made the grass roof on it, and I took a picture of him wearing a little grass skirt that I had found on like some little doll, and then so I made a female version of it with coconuts, and I printed it out and I put it on the back wall. So when you go in his hut, he's got a rhino girl laying on the wall. So I think I sent you a photo of that one.
So I have the hut. I don't know about the,
it's the hut.
coconut.
It's the, and you might not be able to see. So yeah, you can't.
This is the hut. So this is basically the original Suffering Bastard.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah, it's got the fish float lit up. It played music. I had found a little like music box that played Hawaiian music. So when you hit the
okay, so it was like Exotica. It's not like, you know, 3 dots and a dash where you go in and bumping.
Yeah, no, it was full on Exotica, full on the way that it should be. And yeah, it was a big hit, and it sold, and it raised money for dinosaurs. It raised money for.
All right, Tom. At this point, I got to ask you, how much did you drink before the show tonight?
Not much. I've been not, so I can keep my wits about me.
I don't know if I have the photo of the rhino and the coconuts.
I didn't send you one. I just sent you that one. I didn't want to bombard you with stuff.
We'll see if we can find it later on. Maybe we can. But I love that. You wrote a book, or
Yep.
you collaborated on a book
Yep.
with Trader Brandon, and I think it was called The Field Guide to Tiki Decorating.
Yes.
Can people still get it? Is it retired?
It is retired. Yeah, it was available on Trader Brandon's site, but I just checked today, and it is no longer available.
So the obvious question, will there be more Typhoon Tommy books in the future?
I hope so. I really want to. I'm looking for time. Currently, if you've seen any, let me know.
Don't look this way, buddy. I ain't got no time.
Yeah, I mean,
No
right now,
time.
Mai
Certainly not
Kai.
October.
Mai Kai envelops. This isn't my house. I don't live on a river with boats going by. This is my friend Jeff's house. I live in Merritt Island, and if I was home, there'd be tiki stuff behind us and a bunch of tiki mugs and whatnot. That's how much I don't even have my own life. I mean, I live down here basically. So, yeah, I mean, I have people that want commissions of things, and all my tools are at the Mai Kai right now. They're not in my garage at home, so I can't do anything on the weekends. Yeah, it's a lot, but it's, this is for now. This is an amazing opportunity, and it's happening now, and it'll be done someday, and I'll be free to gather all my photos and create a book. And absolutely, give away all my secrets.
Right?
Huh?
People are willing to do some crazy things when they're offered super cool projects like the Mai Kai.
I always joke that I joke that if I built churches, the Sistine Chapel called, and you don't say no.
There you go. 100%. I agree with that. It's the Mai Kai. But I don't want to talk about that just yet.
Okay.
We gotta save the Mai Kai for last, right? Because everybody's excited about the Mai Kai. If I can, I talk to you about some of the intricacies of tiki design, sourcing materials, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
One of the things that I'm super curious about, not being in the tiki bar building scene, has sourcing materials become more challenging after the closure of Oceanic Arts?
Depends on what you're looking for. Yes, the answer is yes. Particularly when it comes to props and weapons, a lot of those things that they've really specialized in, those masks, so decor has become a lot harder to find. There's places you can go and eBay and whatnot, but being able to, yeah, absolutely. That was a magical day. Oh man. He actually bought some of my necklaces that I had done of one of the tikis that they had done for the Polynesian resort. It was a new Kuru female deity that's on the walls up when you go up the stairs, and I had carved a little one for Christy White's birthday. It was like her birthday gift, because that's one of her favorite tikis. And I made a mold and was selling those for a while. and he bought like 20 of them. So I had stuff for sale at Oceanic Arts, and it was like, I'm in the store. Yeah, it was cool.
The tiki bar lighting is I don't. So we have one article that I wrote. Like I have very little experience with tiki bar lighting. I will readily admit that. I wrote an article in about an hour on tiki bar lighting using Oceanic Arts photos, and I actually asked permission to use the photos, and they wrote back to me and they said, you can use the photos, but do not credit us because we can't handle any more orders on tiki bar lights. So yeah, I created this article, and it's one of the most popular articles on the Search for Tiki. I get questions about it all the time, and I'm a fish out of water, man. I run the Tiki Mode website. I don't know about the tiki lights.
So I'm sure a lot of people know. So I have Scott Shidley, aka Flounder, down here with me. Right now he's on the other coast of Florida seeing his dad, but normally he's down here with me, every week. And he and I, between the two of us, have already dismantled and recreated all the original Oceanic Arts lights that were falling apart inside of the Mai Kai. And we've done over 100. I think there's about 180 of them. We've probably done about 120. Every single light. The problem is you take down the light, it's falling apart. They use particle board on so many of them. And that over time, and in Florida with the humidity, it crumbles in your hands. So the fact that more lights haven't fallen on people is surprising. So we take down the lights and we make exactly 1-for-1 copies of them, and then we put the new ones up. So I know a lot about how Oceanic Arts built their lights now, which is, I don't know how you get that kind of education unless you're surrounded by 180 vintage lights that are falling apart. I know a lot.
You take it very seriously. You look at the lights from every possible angle, including literally getting your head inside the mind of Oceanic Arts. I have a feeling it's more the other guy that's doing the work on the lights, Typhoon Tommy. I don't know.
He'll probably agree with you.
I saw that photo. I love that photo.
Oh, it's a fun one. It is. I have one of him doing the same thing. You start going a little kooky in there, man. It happens. But so that lamp in particular, every one of those reeds are brand new. And so all that rattan, those little, they're cane, and they dry out and they break. So, 15, 20% of them are broken, and you go and replace them, and then the other ones break, or you got to break them to get it apart so you can repair it. And so, completely remaking lights, down to every little component of it. And we went out and sourced all the original materials that they use, the abaca cloth, the braided strands, and all the different materials. So they're all exactly like they were when they were made, except for I put trapdoors in them now. The original ones
for the light bulbs.
Yeah, either they have a trapdoor or the light bulb kind of drops in and fits into a ring that I do, because some of the guys over the years would just punch to the side when they couldn't figure out how to get the screws undone, or the screws rusted, or however you took it apart didn't work anymore, or it was just easier to punch through the side and change the bulb. So now they all have a little trap door or something easy so that the light bulbs can be changed. And now we're upgrading to all LEDs as well, which makes them a lot cooler, less fire hazard, lasts a hell of a lot longer, doesn't get as hot, so you're not cooking the material over time. You let the flame twirlers do that.
It was some guy at 4:30 on a Friday who was tasked with changing the light bulbs, and he went up to one of those lights and he's like, "Not today, guys. Kapow!" Knowing what looking at all these lights, okay, so you've seen how they kind of deteriorate over time, particularly in Florida, where the climate kind of ages things perhaps more quickly than other climates. Are there any materials that should be avoided, in your opinion, when making tiki bar lighting?
I'm repairing them with the exact same materials. So, it's just, everything has a time limit. It just depends on how good you take care of it. So, these lights should last another 50 years. They've got different materials now, different light bulbs inside, so maybe they'll last longer. But you really want that authentic look. There's some synthetic things that you can get, synthetic batches and mesh, stuff you can use. But for the most part, just don't use particle board, please.
Are the LEDs pretty like indistinguishable from the old bulbs that get really hot at this point? Has the technology reached that point?
They're definitely cooler. I mean, they still get hot up around the socket or like the flange where it goes in, but not anywhere near as hot as an incandescent bulb is going to get. Yeah.
All right. Here's one for you. As tiki becomes increasingly popular, do you have any tips on how to source tiki items affordably?
There really isn't. It's getting harder and harder. Materials wise, if you're looking for like woven mats, tambour panels, there's sources that have backback or lahala, the bamboo strips, that stuff's also readily available. Forever Bamboo, Backyard Escapes, Amazulu, Safari Thatch, all those companies still carry a lot of those materials. So as far as like building out your bar, that stuff's easy. As far as like finding a Fijian war club to put on your wall, that's getting harder. So, there's people that make them. A lot of the craftsmen, like a lot of people are stepping up into that role and, carving and creating and, making lamps. There's a lot of lamp makers right now. Patrick Thompson does, I think he's Commando Core on Instagram. He does a ton of lamps, and he also puts together a whole lamp show at Oceanic Art. I can't think. Tiki Oasis, thank you. And he showcases
those light shows are
a bunch of really good lamp makers. I've been a part of it for the past 2 years, and it's such a fun show to see everybody's kind of creativity and where they take things. And so there's a lot of great lamps. Lamps are easy. Everything else, you just got to search. Follow who people are following. Go check who people are following. The people that you respect and love, for their craft, go and see who they follow and who they love and respect, and who inspires them. And you can kind of track stuff down.
Social media is a wonderful thing. It's a terrible thing, but also a wonderful thing.
My career wouldn't survive without it now that I'm in this.
Yeah.
It's so funny too, because I spent so many years unable to show anything that I worked on until it was done. We always did confidentiality agreements on everything for Harry Potter and all the theme park stuff. And you're never really supposed to show how you do it, but I can show you the finished product. I can take the same photo that you can take and post it and be like, hey, I worked on this. But I really could never show how I did things because it's all covered under an NDA. Now in Tiki, it's a little different. I can finally like show my craft, which is cool. So social media is very helpful.
We're kind of whores here at Tiki. We like to just milk everything for what it's worth and show it all off and lure people in with the hook.
Absolutely. Rum. We have rum.
Yes, let's drink and share photos. Going back a little bit away from the renovations. You're a designer. You design Tiki spaces. When you approach a new project, okay, not a renovation that you have building blocks from, but like a completely blank space, white walls, where do you start? Like, what's your order of operations in tackling a project like that?
First and foremost, you sit down with the client. What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? How do you want this to look? Do you have any reference pictures? Is there things that you've seen that, inspired you to go this direction that you'd kind of like to emulate in your space? Was there a bar that you went to? What did you like about it? I really want to like kind of craft it around what it is that brought them into this world. And now that they want to spend the money to put a bar together, whether it's a commercial bar or a residential bar or a room, what is it? So with that, I'll go in and I'll take measurements and then I'll do a rough draft, just kind of like sketches, like kind of feeling this. Or like I hate to say mood board, but like, I'm kind of thinking something like this, and you show them a picture of what you think their interpretation is of what it is that, they want. Getting the theme, like for me, then I want to create that theme. I want to know which direction. Are we going nautical? Are we going mid-century? Are we going, full on tiki, Trader Vic's? Where do you want to go with this? And then come up with a story. Stories kind of help. It's one of the things that Brandon talked about in that book, is if you create a story about why this room exists, or like, is this Ned's Landing, or, something like that, it helps you then go out and pick props and designs for the room. So it kind of helps you get your mind frame into what it is that you're creating by, would this fit in this story? You don't have to weigh on that, but it helps sometimes if you're feeling a little lost or overwhelmed, like, I guess, about.
I love it. I think it's important to have some kind of restrictions, right? Because
Sure.
the creative person's worst fear is just endless possibilities, right? That's the material of procrastination. So
when I did, so going on with that, then I'll start either doing sketches, and then when I did the Bastard, it's a small room. Like, I'm sure some of these people listening have been to the Suffering Bastard in Sanford. When I went in there, I was really overwhelmed by the space, where to start, because it was my first tiki bar build. And, where do you start? So I just decided, like, this wall is going to have banquettes and a booth and a little A-frame. I'm just going to focus on that right now. The rest of it will come to me while I'm working on this. I'm not going to worry about that corner or the bar or the back bar or the bar face. I'm just going to build this banquette wall. So then I'll go and I'll take measurements. And this was like my very first one before I really started using a lot of computer stuff. And I did a drawing of, the little A-frame and how I wanted to do the wall and how I wanted to set it up. And that's one of the very first drawings of the Bastard. And it just helped me get a mental visualization of how the room's going to look. And, I think it's pretty dead on.
This is like the focal point, right?
Yeah.
This
is
what ends up all the Instagram photos.
Yeah, the opposite. I think that you have the photo too of that done. So it's just kind of like where it went from there, and then I built that, and that took a while. The interesting thing about the Suffering Bastard is I got that gig when I still lived in Lake Mary, which is right around the corner from Sanford, and I still had a full-time job at Universal, so I was doing all the Harry Potter stuff, and I was like, well, I can just do this on nights and weekends. It's right by my house. It'll be fine. It'll take some time, and plus the way that they were budgeting the whole project, it wasn't like, here's all the money. It was kind of like, okay, we made this at our other bar last week. Let's do this. So I kind of worked at their pace as well, which is really nice. The problem is when I started the job, when they're like, okay, we're ready to go, I had moved to Cape Canaveral, which is an hour away. And I was already driving an hour to Universal every day from Cape Canaveral, which is the Cocoa Beach area. And then Sanford is an hour north from Universal. And then it's also an hour back home. So every day was a 3-hour triangle. Every day that I worked on the bar, and I did that for a year. So nights and weekends.
The Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah. Really losing my mind.
Boy got burnt out.
So for a year, it took me to build that project, which was, at their pace, and they were fine with that. But 3 hours on the road a day. So when I had friends who were like, oh, they live in Orlando. I really want to go to the Bastard. It's just so far away. I'm like, don't even start with me, man. I'm not buying.
I'm one of those guys.
20 minutes away. Just make the drive and shut up.
It's like, but my Disney bus doesn't go there.
Exactly.
100%. I think I have this photo. I don't know if it's the photo you were talking about, but
no, it's one that I had sent you. It's kind of this is the other side of the bar. Actually, you know what's funny? Go back to that one. Speaking of the connection, so I was working for Universal at the time, and we were doing the Hagrid motorcycle ride, and there's in the entry queue for that ride. There's Robbie Coltrane and the guy that plays Arthur Weasley, and they're talking to you, as you're standing in the room, and a the motorcycle falls from the ceiling and kind of like lands on the stage. And for that scene, it was all special effects. But for that scene, they had to create a kind of three-dimensional motorcycle and sidecar. And somebody had sculpted a rough version of the sidecar out of a big block of foam. And then when they finished, they threw that away. And I was like, ooh, that's a giant chunk of foam. So that concrete-covered tiki is actually the sidecar. The sidecar of the Harry Potter Hagrid ride.
The little details.
Yeah, it's fun.
I always wonder, because like you hear about, you and other tiki bar designers, Bamboo Ben. We got to give a shout out to Bamboo Ben. We got to give a shout out to Danny Gallardo. Do you guys just like keep like a room or like a storage thing where like you're shopping and you find something and you like save it in a space just in case you do a build out later on?
You want to chime in? You want to chime in, Annie?
You can't walk through half of our garage because and I'm like, what are you doing with this? He's like, I don't know, it's cool. And I'm like, but I can't move. Yes, they keep everything. They keep everything, and then they hoard it, and then they figure out what they want to use.
Yeah.
Well, that might have been a hot kiln question. I didn't realize I was sinking your ship there, Typhoon Tommy.
I have the most supportive wife in the world. God bless her.
Have you?
Love you.
All right. Is it this one? I say this because I have not been there, which is sad.
That's the photo.
There you go.
So this is where you started, and then you kind of built out from there.
Yep. So after I did this one, over on the right side of the photo is where I built the booth. So I came up with a couple different ideas on what I wanted to do in that corner, and whether it was going to be a stage or like a booth. And I was like, a private booth would be really cool. Plus, I had found some jade tiles, and this is right when the jade tile lady had popped up. And my mom was like, we'll go out and get them. They were out in Tampa. She's like, we'll go run out and get them.
Wait, what is the jade tile lady?
So there's a lady who is in Tampa.
Okay.
And she all of a sudden shows up.
Wore a trench coat. Whipping out the jade tiles. Want to buy a tile?
No, so all of a sudden Facebook Marketplace gets this post, and it is a giant pile of jade tiles, vintage Chinese jade tiles, and there was thousands of them. It was a gigantic stack, and they were still in like sawdust from being shipped over, and they were like $70 a piece or something. And so I reach out and I'm like, hey, these are awesome. I would love to have some of your tiles. And she's an awesome lady, likes to talk, tells you the whole story. And
Good story.
The story is there was a Chinese couple in Tampa that owned a Chinese restaurant or two. And this was, I guess, when Mao became dictator, you weren't allowed to like have signs of wealth or big houses. They would, take over your mansion, and they would, move a bunch of families into it, and turn it into like
probably like early 50s.
Early 50s, yeah.
Probably-ish.
So they had to take down their palace, and they had thousands of jade tiles, in their construction of this place. So the family ships them all to Tampa, and they were keeping them in their spare mansion next door to their mansion, apparently. And the husband ends up cheating on the wife with somebody that worked at one of the restaurants. And so the wife is like, screw it, I'm selling everything. And she sold this lady this gigantic pile of one of the most coveted items in Tiki building. And the jade tile lady was born. So if you go to Max's Hideaway, there's jade tiles everywhere. She said she drove like 700 of them up to, or 250 of them, or whatever it was, all the way up to Max's for the build for Notch to use. And yeah, I mean, everybody was like, jade tiles, oh my God. I still have.
To this day, the legend continues.
Yeah. He still has some, I think.
Wandering around somewhere.
Some say they hear in the middle of the night, wandering the hills. There's no hills in Florida. Anyways, yeah.
All right. So I got to ask, we're at 55 minutes. Are you okay if we run late?
I'm fine, man.
That's fine. It's going to be drink session.
Do you want a drink, love, or are you good with that?
Some water.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to keep sipping rum or if you want me to make you something.
I have water here. People think I'm drinking out of this is water.
I'll go make you
I would love a drink.
Okay.
Thank
I'll
you.
Go make you something.
She's the best, I swear.
You worked on changing gears a little bit. I'm Suffering Bastard. We got to talk about Tahiti Gill's Mananui. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, Mananui.
How did that project come about?
So Gil was the angel dropped from heaven. It was right after quarantine, and he reached out to me. I had just, pretty much lost our whole existence at Universal. And, all my friends are scrambling off to different scenic shops. And I really didn't want to because I kind of wanted to like chase this dream that I had of doing what I'm doing now. And he comes in right at the right time, like a guardian angel sent from heaven. And he goes, hey, I'm buying a little manufactured home in Kissimmee, just south of Disney. And I really want the full Suffering Bastard Typhoon Tommy job done on it. And are you interested? Yeah, 100%. So I got started on that job. And, Gil, luckily, talking about it's hard to find things, Gil had an amazing collection of things that he's amassed over the years, stuff that he had at his tattoo shop in San Diego, which is one of the oldest, it's the second oldest tattoo shop in the country, and it's the oldest single family owned tattoo shop in the world, I believe, or in the country. Because his Tahiti Felix is what it's called, Tahiti Felix's master tattoo. Tahiti Felix had a thing back in the 50s or 60s, or that was called the Regal Tahitians, and it was a dance troupe that would put on shows out in San Diego and like stuff for the troops, and then so Gil's family was all part of it, and Gil's sister ended up marrying Tahiti Felix. So she was a part of it. Everybody was part of it, and they're all actually, there's ties to that, from that family to the Mai Kai. Like they're all related. All the Tahitians are related, and even if they're not, they call each other auntie and brother. They're awesome. But with that, he had all of his uncle's old stuff, his uncle's old stuff, and so much amazing artifacts, so many things. So I basically just created a museum for his collection. And, I got to like see he'd send me photos of stuff that he had, and I'd be like, oh my God, that'd go perfect on this wall. So on this wall, I'm going to do this instead of this. And it was such a really cool build to do. And he's so great.
It's an Airbnb now, right? So
yeah.
people can stay there. You can book it. And then how far is it from Disney?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. So you stay there.
Yeah, it's like a $25 Uber ride to the parks.
The one thing, so when I saw you guys building it, the question that I obviously had, because there is an unfortunate reality of tiki bars today is the theft. People stealing tiki mugs. You make really cool stuff and then people take it. Was there any concern about putting this crazy collection of tiki stuff in an Airbnb?
So I was concerned because I come from the theme park world, and we have two different classifications of a prop, is whether or not it's in guest reach or if it's out of guest reach. Okay. And when it's out of guest reach, you can get away with a lot more, liberties on how you display it and how you mount it. When it's in guest reach, you got to like all thread that thing down to the ground with bolts and liquid nails and booby traps, because people will pull on it and tug on it. So I am from that world, and Gil's like, I'm not worried about it, man. He's like, you know what? It's like the Brady Bunch. If you're gonna steal the tiki, then I curse you. Like it's gonna follow you home, and it's gonna bring you nothing but bad luck. The other thing that he does is he kind of vets people. He doesn't just let it go to anybody. He kind of looks into the people, see what they're about. And most of the people that are finding it that want to pay a little bit of extra money, they're tiki people. And
yeah,
you just kind of keep a general idea that tiki people aren't assholes. They're not gonna steal your stuff.
Generally speaking, right? It is kind of a weird thing in the tiki community where you are comfortable inviting a complete stranger into your living space, your home bar. It's like, hey, I made this cool tiki immersive environment. Oh, you're into tiki too? Oh, come on over. That's kind of the vetting process.
Yeah.
Which maybe we shouldn't say this online. Maybe we're going to start a scourge of tiki theft. Please no. But yeah, generally speaking, people in the tiki industry are pretty chill. With that said, so obviously there are some elements in Mananui that are inspired by things we might see at another favorite theme park that's close by. What are some ways you brought the magic of Disney into the Mananui Airbnb?
I've always been a big fan of the Polynesian Resort. Granted, you know why. Actually, I proposed to my wife at Polynesian Resort during a Magical Tiki meetup, and we went on our honeymoon there. So, the place is very, very, very much tied into my soul. So I wanted to, he wanted a Disney leaning environment. And I've always loved that one wall with the orange and the brown, white, and orange, that wall.
This one right here.
I've always loved that wall. It's right by the pool. I've loved all the designs around that place. It's so Disney and it's so Polynesian. It's not really Polynesian per se, but it's very like Disney's Polynesian. So I really wanted to do a wall of that, and that's what's behind the bed in the bedroom. Just bringing elements of things into their. I could sleep in that bed. I swear. So there's this magic when you're laying in that bed and you're staring up at that ceiling, and those lights on both sides of the bed have the flame bulbs in them, and they're flickering. And the whole house is a smart house, so you just say, Alexa, flame on. Those lights start flickering. There's something magical about falling asleep in that bed. It's a really comfortable bed too. The pillows are insane. The blankets on that are handmade by his family, and he's got like 4 or 5 different colors, and they're so like treasured to some people. And when they saw photos, they're like, "You are actually putting these like family heirlooms on the bed for people." He's like, "I want them enjoyed. I want them to be, enjoyed by people." So there's something magical about that. And then when you fall asleep and you wake up in the morning and you're looking up at that bamboo grid and like that thatched roof above you, it's the best feeling. I love staying there. I can't recommend it enough to anybody. Just go experience it.
So folks, 13 Nights of Tiki Frights is really in disguise just an advertisement for Mananui. Go stay at Tahiti Gill's Airbnb.
Yeah.
No, I love the
Trader Sam's bathroom.
Yes, the iconic Trader Sam's bathroom. I don't even know how that became such a thing at Trader Sam's, the bathroom selfie wall.
I know exactly how it happened.
You do?
Yeah, I know who started the page.
All right.
Mr. Brian Reckenmacher. Mr. Brian Reckenmacher.
B-Rex.
Started that. Yeah, B-Rex. He started that page, and he went in there and took a photo and started Trader Sam's bathroom selfie as a joke. And oh, how it has exploded. I'm down there pretty low on it, like one of the probably first 6 people in it, I think. Yeah.
Congratulations, you're an OG bathroom selfie taker.
Make it I like it so much I copied it. So yeah, now when we were doing the bathroom, I was joking around with Gil. I'm like, how cool would it be if we did Mananui bathroom selfie Instagram page? Is this?
You have to.
Is this? What is this?
It's a bird jack.
Oh,
it's my bird jack. Yes, my bird jack.
Oh, one of my favorite drinks in the world.
There's the stage hand again.
Oh, a Dr. Bird Jack with Tempest Fusion banana. Unbelievable. So yeah, no, we created the bathroom, and I was like, it'd be really fun if we did a Mananui bathroom selfie Instagram page. And it was cool because anybody that stayed there as a guest, you go take your selfie in front of the mirror, and it's kind of like a little bit of a status thing. Like, I stayed there, I'm on the page.
Yeah.
It's a really cool thing, and that one too is blown up, and people love to go and stay there and take their photo in front of the mirror.
Is there like a guest book, like a guide, like this is.
There is a guest book. There's a guest book to sign. There's some really cool people. Like, so McBiff was staying there. He did a really cool drawing in there. Jody Daly of Kevin and Jody. He did a really cool drawing in there. I mean, there's Tony Baxter. I brought Tony Baxter there with my parents, and he filled out the page in there. There's I get some great photos of Tony and I.
Heavy hitters.
I'm not name dropping. That's terrible. I'm sorry. No, it's a really fun book. It's fun to go sit there and just look through, and everybody's got a story. Like, you go to an Airbnb and they're like, fill out our guest book of our apartment in, Detroit. No, this is like a really special, like, people spill like, oh my gosh, this was our first time out. We missed our honeymoon because, COVID, and we couldn't get out, and this was our trip, and it was everything that we ever wanted. It's the same thing that I have for theme parks, where one of my favorite things in the world to do is go sit just inside the gates of Diagon Alley, because Diagon Alley has such an amazing reveal. You're in the main part of the park, and then you find your way through. Some people even walk past and don't realize there's an entrance there. So, like, perfectly hidden. But people walk in, and then you're just hit with Diagon Alley. And if you're a huge Potterhead, it's like emotions, tears, and it's amazing. And I just love sitting there and watching people react to things that you've worked on. It's kind of energizing. Like, it kind of keeps me going. So I'll go to Mananui and I'll read through that book just to kind of like give you reason as to why you do all this. You got to keep yourself spiritually and passionately involved in your craft if you really want to carry it on and make it work. So
I think that is one of the joys of designing spaces in general, but tiki spaces in particular, in that I don't think anyone builds it like a tiki bar with the intention of not showing it to someone, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I make my own tiki bar and nobody's invited. You got to get people there to experience it. And that's kind of the fun. We had a cool comment from Bob. Bob's a local here, who just built his home tiki bar, and it looks insane. But your videos building Tahiti Gil's place was the inspiration for him to start building his home bar. So,
thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. Actually, going back to that time thing, I have so much more footage. I have footage of me completing the entire project that I just don't have time to sit. If anybody here wants to go and edit video for me, please reach out.
Who has some time?
Because I have so much more footage, and I really want to finish that series. I was putting out videos pretty regularly, and just kind of, I want people to be inspired. I want them to feel that they can do this. That they can handle it. It's not that overwhelming. And again, you just block it all out and focus on that project in front of you. Are you going to cut this piece of bamboo? Congratulations, you cut it. Let's go put it on the wall. It's not, don't let the whole project overwhelm you. And that's kind of what my videos are for, is just to show things that I've picked up along the way. Hey, I like to use this tool, and it's a lot easier than using this tool. Here's some paint that I've found. Like, I'm a big proponent of Ronin Japan colors, because they're amazing for aging. You can really make something look old just by using, you can rust things like, so all those Ford Anglias that I did, those were all with Japan's. Tiki Tony's Land Rover I did with Japan's. I did that in the parking lot at Tiki Oasis, during Tiki Oasis. That was an interesting one.
I got a photo of that. We got to see Tiki Tony's Land Rover.
Yeah, that is in the parking lot during Tiki Oasis. And I got a nice number.
Was Tony into this, or was he kind of nervous?
No, he'd seen like what I had done. So actually, that Ford Anglia that I showed you, the one that's sitting in front of the store, Eric Baker reached out to his friend Brandon, who was working for Imagineering in Los Angeles and was moving to Florida to work on Avatar and on Trader Sam's. And I didn't even know who Brandon was at the time. And he goes, oh, a friend of mine is leaving California, and he's going to ship his Ford Anglia out here. We're going to buy that one. So I found out, once I met Brandon, that it was his Ford Anglia. So he had seen what I had done on that Ford Anglia, and Tony had. And then he was like, I really want to do the Land Rover. And
he felt confident. He knew what he was getting into.
He thought I did. I have a chapter in the book on how to rust. He read the chapter. He's like, you got this. So there was the funny story though about that is I was in the parking lot rusting the Land Rover, and this guy walks by and he goes, "You know, those things are stainless or they're aluminum, right?" He goes, "Those cars are made out of aluminum, right?" And I'm like, "Well, this one's rusty because aluminum doesn't rust." So it's kind of funny that a Land Rover would never rust, but in the magical world of Tiki, they sure do.
I love it. Your book is no longer available for purchase for
Negative.
things, but maybe it'll come back. Maybe you can find it on eBay. Other than that, what are some resources for people like Bob who want to make their own home tiki bar? Where would you recommend that they go to kind of like learn how to do it and ask questions?
Typhoon Tommy on Instagram.
There you go.
I do answer questions. I do
shameless self plug.
No, I mean, I have people reach out and they're like, "Hey, I really want some inspiration," or where do I get this, or how did you do that? And I'm always happy to tell. So as far as like learning how to do things, there's some guys that are doing some builds on YouTube. There's my channel, and someday when it gets up and running again, there'll be more content. I think that if you have a creative brain, you can go into a tiki bar or somebody's home bar and kind of see how they did it. And once you find the materials, so if you, foreverbamboo.com, backyardescapes.com, Amazulu Inc., Safari Thatch, they all have materials and they all ship materials. So they can ship it to you, you can order it. Backyard Escapes and Forever Bamboo, I think, do free shipping too. And these are like large things. So the fact that they do free shipping is amazing. So, once you learn that you can go and buy Lahala matting and you can cut it with scissors, and you go into somebody's house and you see that their whole wall is done with Lahala matting, you can go home and buy that and you can put it on your wall. When you start to look more into things, you'll kind of notice like some people don't border their Lahalas or their different mattings, and that's kind of a pet peeve for me. I don't want to see the seams. I don't want to see the edges of things. So, you'll be like, I got to do a big wall that's over 4 feet wide. What do I do? And then you kind of have to start breaking it down in your head. Well, like if I do 2 3-footers, or I do a 4-foot and a different material on the right for the extra foot, you start breaking up the wall into kind of a grid, like a 4x8 grid, and you start thinking in that direction. You just start getting into it. You start analyzing and paying attention to things a little bit more, and you kind of pick up on it, if you're intuitive. And if not,
So,
you call me or reach out to me at Typhoon Tommy.
Shameless plug. There you go. Typhoon Tommy and book.
Someday when I have time.
Here you go. No, but you mentioned pet peeves, which brings up a question of mine. Okay, so when you're in an industry, suddenly you notice the small things. For example, with a Mai Tai glass, you have a color gap on Mai Tai glasses, and once you understand what a color gap is, you can't ever unsee the color gap.
Yeah.
All right, so you design tiki bar spaces for a living. I can think of some bars that have had some wonky things. Are there any design choices that particularly drive you crazy when you go to a tiki bar?
Yes, absolutely. Definitely seems I guess tooling marks are a big thing. Like, so if you're going to scenic, you're going to paint something, I don't really want to see like what kind of brush you used. It should flow. So just attention to detail on things. I don't like seeing screw heads, if possible. If you go through the Harry Potter parks, you will not find a Phillips head screw or a 8-sided or 5-sided, whatever, a hex head at 6.
Yep.
You won't find a hex head nut. It'll always be a 4-sided nut, or it'll be a flathead screw. And we've gone through and just sculpted little fake 4-sided hex or 4-sided bolts on top of the other ones, just so they don't look like modern things. So it's that kind of attention to detail that I really look into. I don't want to. It kind of drives me nuts when you go in and like somebody just put a Phillips screw right through, one of their artifacts on the wall. Like, come up with a way to kind of camouflage that, or do different kind of things you can hang it on where you don't really see the source or the mounting. No staples. Try to cover your staples.
No staples.
I found I use an upholstery stapler a lot for like putting up matting, and I found you can get black staples. So, you know, they hide themselves a lot better than a silver staple. Like I've gone through with a Sharpie and just colored out all the staple heads on things because I don't want to see it. I don't want it to be that shine. It kind of takes you away from the fact that this wasn't built by a, you know, native man on an island. You know, I want it to.
You're saying they don't have staplers on, you know?
Bora Bora.
Staplers don't grow on coconut trees?
Yeah. I want a rusty nail and a coconut as a hammer. That's what I want. If you're going to show me
You're stranded on an island and you can only bring one thing with you. Is it going to be the stapler?
I need an air compressor, though.
The red swing line. From Office Space.
Yep. You seen it? A stapler?
Yeah. I have I don't know why this is weird to me, but I don't like it. Fish floats. Particularly, I like fish floats. Okay, let me back up. I like fish floats. I don't like fish floats that are not hanging. When people just like put a fish float on the counter, you know, like you're drinking at a table and there's a fish float. I'm like, well, why is this not suspended?
I have some on my floor when you walk in the house.
No, it's like an arboretum.
Oh yeah, out by our front door we have one on the ground. But it's right next to a buoy.
You're one of those guys.
Oh, I have an anchor and a buoy and a fish float on the ground in the gravel. So those are all nautical things that belong on the ground together.
So it makes a little more sense. I just think it like it looks like it fell off the ceiling one day, and rather than like putting it back up, you just kind of like put it on a table somewhere. Like we can't.
Yeah, it's almost like a like a decor store. Like if you went to like Pottery Barn and they have fish floats this year, and they have them on tables next to a monkey knot.
Monkey knot.
Yeah.
Yep, 100%.
Monkey knot doorstop.
Yep. And some coral that's spray painted white.
Oh yeah, or gold.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Ooh. Here's a tangent. TVs. Do you have an opinion on TVs?
I do.
What about the one you did?
I know. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have an opinion on TVs.
That's what I'm talking about.
So this client reached out and they wanted a Trader Sam's style window for their one of their tiki bedrooms that they were doing, and they also wanted the ability to watch TV if they ever needed to. So I came up with this whole nautical way of doing it where I made a rudder and I painted the rudder, and then I found a ship's wheel and I did ropes and a big pulley in the ceiling, and you can turn the ship's wheel very
carefully.
Carefully. Everything Typhoon Tommy builds is very fragile. When people get back in the Mai Kai, don't touch a thing.
So I wanted to like Swiss Family Robinson, you know, where like you turn the ship's wheel and it opens the window. So that was kind of the idea for that. So if you're going to put a window in your bar, then make it look like you're looking out into Bora Bora, like screensaver type of thing. I don't want a black screen, so if you're going to have a TV, you're either doing an underwater thing or you're doing a window. I don't want a black screen in there that looks, you know, now you're taking me away and you're putting me in the fact that there's a big black hole of tiki-lessness in the corner. Is that a word? Just made it up. So that's one way to get around that. If you really must have a TV, you know, because I understand that a lot of people are limited for space and this is going to be their bar room and Super Bowl is going to happen or some game, and you just want to go in there and relax and maybe watch TV. So you're going to want that option to have a television in your bar. I get it. It happens. I don't think you should have one in there if you can swing it, but if you really, you know, need to have one, theme it out or come up with a cover for it. George Bunder, but I can never pronounce his last name. George Bundershring lives in Jacksonville. So bad. I love Big George. Big George has
Big George.
We all call him Big George. He has a TV in his, and he has like a way to cover it up completely. You don't even know it's there. And when he wants to watch TV in his own home bar, which is his prerogative, he pops it out, and it's perfect. I've seen people turn them into aquariums, and they'll put like a cover over it that has round little nautical windows, like portholes over it. So do that. Maunanui has an old mid-mod retro mod TV in it. So it's got a flat screen, but it's in a old resto mod kind of a case, and it completely fits the theme of the room. It's wonderful. So if you're gonna do it, theme it. Don't just stick a TV on the wall.
I gotta real quick address a comment. Mando Nate said, "Why you gotta call out SOS?" To be clear, I love SOS. I have been to SOS, the cocktail bar. I just don't like fish floats on tables. Oh, that's where I was going. Yeah, I saw Nonsense Betty there, and I was joking around with Nonsense Betty, so SOS stands out in my mind. But SOS is a great bar.
She's awesome.
Definitely go to SOS.
She's one of my favorites.
The TVs also lead into windows in a tiki bar.
I don't want to see reality. No, I don't want to look out and see your Buick, or your cool. I don't want to see the street. I don't want to see Mary walking her dog. If it's looking out in your backyard and your backyard looks like a jungle, go for it. If you want to put sprinklers out there and make it look like it's raining and it's a rainforest, go for it. But I like escapism. You're going to your tiki bar and it's all about escaping the world. And windows are windows to the world. So I don't like it. So covering them completely if possible. There was Aku Aku in Orlando. My buddy Eric was the bar manager there, and he's like, "Hey, we want to make some changes in here. What would you do?" And I gave him 3 suggestions, and one of them was cover your windows. And I showed them Grass Skirt in San Diego. If you go to Grass Skirt, it's not a window, but what they did there is they have this big long light box that has, like a beach scene with like a volcano. I don't remember what's on it, but it's like a full beach scene. And you're looking out over Bora Bora, and it's backlit, and it completely works if you're going to have a little bit of like daylight come through. So they covered their windows with a kind of a transparent vinyl graphic of a volcano. So you're getting the daylight through now, but I'm not looking out at people outside smoking. So you're controlling the environment. You need to control the environment in order to sell escapism.
I agree 100%. I love Frankie's Tiki Room. It's like the vampire thing, right? Where you come out of Frankie's Tiki Room and you're like, you burst into flames because it's so bright. And then I love, I just got to visit La Marina Sailing Club in Oahu, which obviously that bar has it's not even windows. It's like just gigantic open space. But when you're looking at a marina in Hawaii, it's okay.
Well, it's Trader Vic's in Emeryville. You're looking out over a marina.
Yep.
So, that works. Gecko killed that. It's awesome. He did a fantastic job out there. I haven't been, when I was out in Oahu, it wasn't open yet. So I haven't been to it, but I've seen photos and it's phenomenal. It's beautiful.
It's back, baby, and people should go. La Marina.
I mean, hey, it doesn't hurt that when you look out the window, you're looking at Hawaii.
Yes. Yeah. That's kind of like the asterisk, right? Like no windows except in Hawaii.
Here in Tahiti. And there they just call it a bar.
Yep. All right. Well, I think it's time. We talk about the Mai Kai. People are excited for the Mai Kai. The Mai Kai has been closed for, I believe, 3 years since the fall of 2020. Is there a tentative timeline on reopening?
Yes. We are aiming for early next year.
Okay. Early 2024.
Yes. You just raise up the little dial. The second one from the left. I can't see, you're blocking it. Anyways,
Sorry.
You're fine. It's hot in here. I'm having to turn the fan up. Sorry. We're aiming for early 2024. It's kind of the goal right now. There's been a lot of issues with the city and permitting. That's kind of
no, you don't say.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's harder too about it is the Mai Kai is actually right on the border of Oakland Park and Fort Lauderdale. And Fort Lauderdale is, a bigger city, probably a little more lenient on things. Oakland Park it's the only historic building, or maybe it's one of 2 historic buildings in Oakland Park. So, if they're a historic board, they only have 2 things to worry about. So they're going to pay a lot of attention to the 2 things that they have. So a lot of red tape and a lot of waiting on things. And, we just kind of had to work with them, and it's taken a while Like we just got clearance to really tear into the parking lot about a month ago, and I mean, we're going full steam ahead on that. But you really can't open a restaurant until your parking lot's done. And right now there's giant piles of gravel and torn up asphalt and all new drainage and all new plumbing out there. So it all takes time, and it's kind of been a delay. I mean, I'm working vigorously on the inside to make sure that that's all done. We're also adding a whole new service bar and a whole new temporary kitchen, new dressing rooms. We got to get up to code with a handicap bathroom, like a fully accessible handicap bathroom. So there's a lot of additions that need to be made. And then there's also, a lot, it can't look like the office in the back. It's got to really be the Mai Kai through and through. So, the handicap bathroom is getting its whole theme. The locker rooms are probably getting a light theming. The service bar is going to look like a tiki bar. And there's actually going to be a little window from the gift shop looking into the service bar, which is, the bar that makes all the drinks for the restaurant. Like the Molokai has its own bartender, and the restaurant has 5 bartenders just to keep up with all the people that come in and sit down and start eating all at once because of the dinner show. So it's a different kind of restaurant for sure, and it requires.
How would you? So if it's been closed for 3 years, Tiki has exploded. The mugs in particular, but the Tiki scene in general. I don't know if maybe it's in part to social media and just how Instagrammable, Tiki bar experiences are, but it's taking off as it has before in the past. For someone that has never been to the Mai Kai, because there's plenty of people that just got into Tiki in the past 3 years, how would you describe the experience of the Mai Kai?
You've seen nothing like the Mai Kai. It's Shangri-La. I mean, it's Valhalla. It's the Sistine Chapel. It's the oldest queen. She's the last standing queen of magnificence. I mean, I've been there for a year and a half, and I still discover things that I never noticed. I've always said, even before it closed, you could walk through with your camera and just go like this, and then go like this, and go like that. And each one of those photos is going to have so much theming in it that you never noticed. I mean, every square inch of every corner of every bit of that entire building is themed out and done masterfully. There's nothing like. Actually, if you really want to experience it and you want to spoil the surprise, you can go on Google Maps. They did a full Google Street View walkthrough of the entire building, or the entire guest part of the building. So you can go and click on the Mai Kai, go to photos, and then go to 360s. And then you can do a full, hit the little arrow and walk forward of the entire building. And we use it all the time because there was so much kind of destruction that happened since it's been closed, with the lack of air conditioning and roof leaks and, a lot of the issues that the building had, where, and then they came through and they removed all of the valuable props off the walls, took some lamps down. So when we're going through and we're like, well, what was in this corner? We'll go and use Google Street View. And that was about 11 years ago that they did that walkthrough. So it's
wow, thank God for that.
So we'll go through and be like, oh, that lamp was here. It's really helpful. But if you ever want to get inspired, that's an amazing resource. If you're trying to build your own home tiki bar and you're looking for inspiration, like what to do in a corner or what to do with a thatched roof, go take a walk through the Mai Kai on Google Maps and just get inspired. It's so beautiful. It's every day I work there, I'm excited to work there, even though I've been away from my family and
living in a different house.
Do what?
Living in a different house.
Yeah.
Do you remember the news that had closed?
Yeah.
Because obviously the Mai Kai, you got married there, right?
I did.
That must have been shocking and just sad. How did you get involved in the renovations? Did you actively seek it out? Did they just
kind of. So I got married there in February 2020. It closed right after quarantine. I think the roof fell apart sometime in May or June of 2020. I don't remember the exact month. And everybody was like, it's done. They can't afford to fix this place. it's so behind on building codes because it was built in 56 and then it was, added on in 1970. And so much has changed with, handicap, accessible, so many different things that have gone on to that place that, they were saying there's no way they're going to be able to recover out of that. And then Guardian Angels came. Bill Fuller with the Barlington Group, came with an investment team. And what's great about those guys is Bill owns another bar in Miami called Ball and Chain. And when he bought the building, I think the story goes that when he bought the building, he was going to make it into a bar. It was like an old furniture store. And it was on Cayocho, which is like the full Cuban street down in Miami, where all the restaurants and everything are. It's like the center of Cuban culture down there. And he found old photos of Ball and Chain, which was this old jazz club in like the 30s or 40s. And Count Basie, Billie Holiday, like all these famous jazz musicians played at Ball and Chain. And he found a photo of the exterior of it. And he completely recreated the exterior of Ball and Chain because he loves history. He loves that whole, Florida history is very important to him. So I guess there was a lot of other people that had come forward wanting the Mai Kai, but it wasn't until he sat down and kind of told his story and about his passions and how much he loved the place. He used to go there all the time. And what he plans to do with it, that the family was like, okay, I think we found our guy. And it really gave it the boost that it needs. And he's still there, boosting. And it's been like a 2-year project, 2-year project of no income coming in, but he wants it done right. So when it opens, it's going to be the center point of tiki culture and South Florida and history. And, you only get one shot to do it right. And he wants to do it right, which is really
sounds like they found the right person, because I know there was a lot of tensions and anxieties going into, the renovation. Anytime you announce, we found the funding, or working with someone, people get scared.
Yeah.
People get scared, especially in a place where there's so many memories that people have, important, significant memories, and to find a person that's taking the time to do it right is fantastic. So
what's cool too, so I was at Hukilau and I ran into Kern and just talking like, what's the plan? We don't really know yet. We've got some investors lined up, we're not really sure. And I was like, well, I love tiki bars and I built some bars and I think I was working on Mauna Nui at the time, or maybe I just finished it. And I'm like, if you need any help, I'm only 2 hours away. So I would love to be a part of it. If that arises, if they're looking for someone to do some of that stuff in there, I'd love to be a part of the team. And he's like, okay, yeah, great, I'll let you know. And I didn't hear anything for a little while. And I'm sitting on the couch with Carrie and I get a text and I look down, it's from Kern. And he's like, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you send me your resume and your portfolio? I want to show it to the new owners just to see if maybe we can get like the right people involved on this renovation. And I was like
resuscitate.
I was like, honey, can you please read this to me right now? Tell me if that says what I think it says. And she's like, oh my gosh, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, I got to update my resume. Put together a resume and I put together my portfolio and I, showed stuff that kind of pertained to Tiki and like stuff that I've done for Tiki, but I also wanted to show big projects that I've worked on. Volcano Bay for Universal, it's a big Tiki project. All the Harry Potter stuff. And just like, I've been a part of big projects. Big projects don't scare me, but here is my passion for the Tiki side. And I submitted it and Bill was like, get him on a Zoom. Let's all sit down and kind of discuss like what he thinks. And we went through my portfolio like, okay, well, what's this photo right here? So like, this is what's, this and that. And I just kind of explained everything to him. He's like, I love it. Let's get you on board. And I was like, oh crap. I'm
this is really
yeah.
Do you still have like dreams at night where you wake up and it's like they gave it to someone else?
No, but the biggest thing is, it's amazing, but it's not something you want to F up,
Yeah.
The entire Tiki world is.
It's a lot of pressure.
It is. I'm reading the comment. It's the gold standard. It's the top. It's the pinnacle, and you don't want to be the guy that screwed up the Mai Kai. So that's what keeps me awake at night.
Typhoon Tommy, it remains to be seen.
I mean, I have many nights at 4:30 in the morning where I'm just staring into the blackness of the ceiling and I'm designing in my head. I do a lot of designing like in the middle of the night when I, in my head, like I'll just kind of like visualize a space and like I'll have something that I'm just pondering, like what am I going to do here? What am I going to do here? And yeah, that's what keeps me awake at night instead, is don't mess this up. And so far so good. They like what I'm doing.
Let's take a quick look at a pic here. So this is, I believe, the old Mai Kai.
This is the old Mai Kai. This is outside. These little bollards on the right are above the front doors. And these were these old panels that they had up there. And not a lot of people even remember them. It's these old panels from the 50s. I think they were like 1958 or so when they closed in the original porte-cochere to make the original Molokai bar. They added these light up panels. They were supposed to light up. They're made out of fiberglass, and there was lights behind them. And hurricanes have wreaked havoc on them. They had roof leaks, so they had to like spray the doors behind them shut with foam. And then some sign company came in and like cut out a section of them. Florida happened to them. And
you can see the like all the wood is gone. There's nails.
So I really wanted to tackle that project and bring those back to life. And then also the main beams. They had these big black, probably 4 foot tall, like 3 or 4 foot tall beams that ran all the way out for the whole porte-cochere. So that whole A-frame that you drive underneath. And they had these black beams. This is what I've done to them now. So I think you had one more picture.
The baby's been restored.
Yeah, so I think there's a photo of the black beams with like the black and yellow or the blue and yellow designs they had on them. No, that's new.
No. Oh, you're looking for the old one?
Yeah, there's one more old one that kind of shows what they look like originally. Yeah, so those are the beams on the right and the one in the middle. And they were just painted jet black, flat black, and they had these designs done on them. And the designs were actually they used to have a light rail that ran along the bottom of the beam. They had like a fluorescence in and it would shine up the beams. And that was the design on the little 4-inch beam. And when they took the light rail off, they just blew it up on the thing in blue and yellow. And I was never really a fan of it. It was the only thing that like really didn't feel like Mai Kai to me. And I had this vision of having kind of like aged graphics on there that were more of like Polynesian style, whether it's Marquesian or Tahitian or Hawaiian. And that's what the new beams are. But I brought back that original pattern on the light rail, and we put the light rail back. So you can see like a subtle glow that's happening at the bottom of that beam.
Yep.
So that's going to shine back up and light the beams up. And then that whole porte-cochere is going to become an outdoor bar. So we took the Bora Bora building down because it was falling off of its foundations. It's been condemned. It's full of termites. The air conditioner fell through the ceiling and in through the floor. Asbestos. I don't know if it did it. No. So we're going to move the driveway to that side of the banyan trees. And so you'll still come across the bridge, but then you're going to make a hard right and then a hard left after the banyan trees. And there'll be a big traffic circle that's all stamped concrete with Polynesian symbols in it. And you're going to get out of your car, and it's going to be like you're walking up out of your car is your boat, and you're docking the boat, and you're walking up the beach, and you're going to come up the beach, and it's going to like become more of like a lava rock pathway. And then there's going to be an outdoor bar that's going to be like, it's going to be kind of filled with flotsam and jetsam. So, the whole theory every place needs a story. So the story that I came up with for the Mai Kai renovation is, a lot of people, or maybe people don't know, that the Molokai bar is built with set pieces from Mutiny on the Bounty with Marlon Brando. The Sony Picture Warehouse was doing a big sale, and they had just finished shooting Mutiny on the Bounty, and they were selling off all their nautical stuff. And they went in and bought as much nautical stuff as they did, and I think they even hired the set designer from the Mutiny on the Bounty movie, and they designed the entire Molokai. They did a skin over of the whole thing with all these old shackles and block and tackle and sails and masts and everything. It's all from Mutiny on the Bounty. So if you're any familiar with the story of Mutiny on the Bounty, it's a story about a crew that wanted to not leave Tahiti. First of all, they had a tyrant of a captain. Morale was really low. And then they go to Tahiti, and Tahiti is full of beautiful topless women and fruit and paradise. And then he's letting them kind of like relax for a little while, but then it's like, everybody get back on the ship. We have to bring all this stuff back to England. And they have a mutiny. And, they send the captain and his loyalists off in a rowboat with a compass. And they take the boat and they go to the Pitcairn Islands and they scuttle the ship, and they lived on Pitcairn. And to this day, the people that live on Pitcairn Island are direct descendants of the mutiny crew. So my story is that they mutinied before they left Tahiti, and they got rid of the captain. I don't care how. And they settled the ship in Tahiti, and the Mai Kai represents Tahiti. The Mai Kai is Polynesia. So The rest of that whole building is all Polynesia. It's all the different islands. It's, Tahiti and Samoa and Hawaii, and, every room is a different theme, except for the Molokai. The Molokai is the ship. So they scuttled their ship and they built their bar and they incorporated it into the rest of the building. So now that we're re-envisioning the outside, I want it to be that you're coming up onto the beach. And I worked with Perry Becker Designs, who also did the exterior entranceway of the Polynesian Resort. They had reached out when they found out I was doing this, and they've been awesome over there, Jesse and all the crew. And, you're getting off of your boat and you're walking up onto the beach of Tahiti or Polynesia, and there's little bits of ship. There's, if the inside of the bar is all the inside of the ship, then maybe there's some exterior broken pieces of the exterior of the ship. And, they had unloaded their barrels and their crates and netting, and maybe there's an anchor, stuff like that. So I really wanted to kind of convey a story when you're walking up to the Mai Kai now. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
If I can make a suggestion.
Yes.
Outside the bar, all the shipwreck, make sure you just put a couple fish floats
on the ground.
In the ground, yes. 100%.
I'm definitely putting them in the plans right now.
No.
It's gonna spell out Gabe.
And you're gonna do it with a smile too. And you're
100%.
Yeah.
I laughed the whole way.
I'm so excited, dude. I have not been able to experience the Mai Kai myself. I got into Tiki 2 recently, so it's as soon as they open, I'm going to be there. I absolutely cannot wait. Chris asked what the time frame is for visiting the Mai Kai. When will it be open? I believe you said they are shooting for early 2024.
Yeah, hopefully by April, maybe sooner. It all depends on the driveway. I mean, there's so much work to do out there. And we can't have you parking in the dirt and walking in the dirt in your high heels. So,
are they planning? Obviously, things can change. Are they planning to do like everything's open at once, or is it going to be like kind of a phased opening?
There's two answers to that. There is two phases. Phase one is the restaurant and the bar with the Polynesian show. It's going to be such a big hit when it opens. And there's going to be so many people that want to make the pilgrimage and come, and also plus all the South Florida people that have been missing for the past 3 years. So we can't just open the Molokai and then have a bunch of people upset leaving because they can't get into the rest of the restaurant or there's no room for them. So we're going to have a show and the bar and a limited food menu because we have a small kitchen right now. We built a temporary kitchen in the back of the main building because the giant cavern that is the other kitchen, the original kitchen, still has no roof on it, and that is phase two. So phase two will be the full kitchen rebuild and a 6,000 square foot event center that I'm designing with a 30-foot A-frame roof, which is a dream come true that I get to add an entire building to the Mai Kai.
Is that scary? Because you usually think of tiki spaces and you think of like small, intimate.
Oh my God. Really? Are you just coming out of you get it?
So if someone came to me and was like, I want you to design this giant warehouse tiki building, like I wouldn't sleep at night, man.
Oh my God, I can't believe you said it, because I was going to say it anyway. Because I'm going to tell you, one of the biggest, hardest things about this entire build is, when I design a space, I can, like I did with Bastard, I can concentrate on this little corner, and I can worry about what is going in this 30 feet or 10 feet or whatever. And I don't have to worry about the rest of the building right now, because I'm just worried about this. I'm making a vignette. Tiki is little vignettes. This is my seating area. This is my bar area. This is my Whitco corner. Like, it's all vignettes. And when you're doing a room that is 80 feet long by 30 feet wide, you have to start thinking like grand hall, like grand ceremonial hall style.
Okay.
And it's a flex space, because, there's going to be no permanent seating. There's no booths. So when it's going to be like a wedding reception, we're going to roll in tables and turn it into a wedding reception. If we're going to have the Disastronauts come and play, we're going to put a stage in there, and it's going to, be a place where you stand around and drink and dance, and there's going to be a bar in the corner. And there's always going to be a bar in the corner. And there's going to be an indoor and outdoor part of it too. But you're creating a flex space so that it can be like a tiki marketplace. It can be whatever it needs to be. And with that, you have to then create a giant room. And
so essentially, the inside has to be empty. Is that right? Because if you're flexing things in and out, right, you can't really do it. You can't break it up. You can't put it into little small sections.
Yeah. Did I send you my SketchUp drawing of the inside? Because my whole design process has changed considerably with this exact room.
Let's see.
So,
is this the right one?
Yes. So I walk out in this giant open back room of where the kitchen used to be, and there's a warehouse over in this corner of it, and there's no roof on it. You're staring at the sky, but it has 18 foot tall walls all around it, of like cinder block wall. And Darius, who works for Mad Room and Barlington Group for Bill, he's like, and over here we want to do a big kind of open convention center, like tiki themed convention center. And I was like, well, what's the roof going to be? He's like, I don't know. What do you want? And I'm like, what do you mean? What do I want? I want a 30-foot A-frame. He's like, draw it up. And I didn't want to go back to my like pen and paper, or I didn't want to go to like, I did Montanui with Illustrator. I didn't want to go back to all that. I wanted to really show like how I want the room to look, or how the roof line to do. And we went through a different couple incarnations, and we went with the dual pitched A-frame roof. So I really got to kind of show a proof of concept of, how I think it should look. And then I did that drawing on SketchUp, and they all loved it. It was a huge hit. And that's what we're doing. And that's phase 2. And that's amazing. But now go back to that picture. Let me show you my next big headache. So as I had said before, I don't know if I said this at all. You have to start thinking in 4x8 sheets. Everything that is woven mat that you want comes in 4x8 sheets. And I don't want this whole thing to look like a grid.
Yep.
So I've been trying to come up with ways to break up the walls in here, so that,
What's the height?
That wall is about 18 feet.
Okay.
And it's about 16 feet across in between beam to beam. About 16 feet across. This is standing at the bar looking towards the front door of it. I envision like a lava rock wall around, which is kind of like what they would do. So my whole theme for this is going to be the Marquesas, because it's the only island group that they don't really have represented inside the Mai Kai currently. They have Tahiti and they share art styles, but the Marquesian art is probably my favorite of the Polynesian styles. And, I just imagine like those beams all having like Marquesian tattoo work on them, and just stunning. There's so much room to do, and like it's that, and Maori is another amazing one, New Zealand. But I'm going to go more towards the Marquesas for this project. So
do you have not to interrupt, do you have anyone in mind to do the carvings, the tiki carvings? Do you do tiki carvings, or would you?
I would love to shop that out to people. I don't want to add that to my. So locally, we have Will Anders, who's done a lot of the carvings at the Mai Kai currently. He replaced a lot of the old original carvings that were there. Like the two main big wood ones in the gardens right now were both done by Will. There's also Tom Fauner, who's currently right now working with Tiki Diablo on Don the Beachcomber. And
they're a sponsor. Thank you, Don the Beachcomber.
Yeah. I wanted Tom really bad, and I just couldn't, get him in. I couldn't find a place to squeeze him in yet, just with the current workload. But Tom's another amazing carver. We just got a Bill Collins carving, a Marquesian Bill Collins carving that is also going to be potentially one of the new mugs, because he's one of the best Marquesian carvers in the world, but he's in Hawaii, which makes that kind of difficult. But we just got one from him, and it's gorgeous. I'm going to find a beautiful home for that one. But yeah, I need to start getting things carved and start opening up the budget to get that one. But that's phase 2, so it's going to be a little bit
more time. Did you say that magic word? Mugs?
Huh?
They're going to be mugs.
There are some.
Maybe you know this about me, but I like mugs.
There's going to be some new mug additions to the Mai Kai. We've been having some meetings with the guy that you had on last. So, yeah, there's going to be some new mugs. Allegedly.
What do you?
All right. Well, as much as I hate to move on from the Mai Kai, I do want to talk to you about a couple things. I want to talk to you about Magical Tiki Meetup.
Okay.
And I want to talk about Tiki A Go-Go.
Oh, right.
Well, then I'm going to wait.
It's cool.
Okay.
Oh, actually, can you real quick, go grab one.
Okay, go grab one.
Pull up the exterior of the Mai Kai, the new garden. I sent you a picture of the outside of that.
The east
that's
entrance?
really cool. Huh?
The east entrance?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yes. So this is, a lot of people will recognize the Chinese oven. If you've been to the Mai Kai, you know about the Chinese ovens. And one of the problems that the Mai Kai has had, well, let's go back a little bit. One of the problems that putting an event center down at the end like that has is you can't get to it without going through some kind of food prep area. So with that, we are going to move, not get rid of, move the Chinese ovens. Because I'm going to use that building as the new foyer and entrance to the Chinese, or into the event center. So you'll come down the hallway past the fish tank and then keep walking straight where it used to be a piece of glass and you could watch your duck get cooked or your steak get cooked. And now you're going to walk through that and it's going to be a new entrance into the foyer and then into the main event center. So that's a good place where you'll pick up your drink and everything. And that also gives us the opportunity to do an exterior door that is at handicap level. So people in wheelchairs can get into the gardens, because right now you have to go down steps to get to the gardens, and it's kind of been a source of contention. Thank you. So,
well, that was one of the major problems, right? Like the roof. Correct me if I'm wrong. The roof went.
Yeah.
But to fix the roof, you now have to bring
the rest of the building
else to up to a certain level of code, and it's been so long that so many codes have changed.
Yes. So it's going to be some changes, but it's going to be really cool, and I'm going to do it in a really cool way. I'm going to kind of keep the Chinese look, and where we're moving the Chinese ovens now, they're going to go behind where the fish tank used to be. So the area in between where the fish tank was and where you go to the Chinese ovens, I'm going to change. It's all nautical right now. It's all like green nautical. I'm going to change all that to Chinese junk nautical. So like old, like an old Chinese pirate ship, basically. So of that same era, but it's going to have like those red enamels with like aged and maybe some like gold accent pieces and, a bale of rice on the ground, stuff like that. So it really feels cohesive between the two areas. So you're going to walk into the Chinese ovens, through a little bit of like a Chinese theme. And then when you make your right, you go into the Marquesas, then you're in the Marquesas. But it's kind of it's a fun change. It's a big change. And
dude, I got to say, I love listening to you talk about the Mai Kai, because if anyone was concerned about the Mai Kai and the direction that it was going and the changes that were being made, all they have to do is listen to you, and they can instantly tell how much you care about the Mai Kai and how passionate you are about it. And dude, I just got to say, it shows, and I think people can sleep at night knowing that you're working on the Mai Kai.
Someday I will too.
You will too. Maybe someday. Southpaw Barbershop said, "Yeah, I wish there was a way to buy merch currently to help fund whatever is needed."
I think that's gonna start happening. We have some. So Eric October is kind of reimagining a lot of the original like watercolor drawings that are in the menu, and so we're redesigning the whole menu, and we have a new company that's kind of in charge of all of our branding. It's God, you're gonna kill me for this. Damn it, I can't remember what they call themselves. Anyway, so Brandon, that's in charge of that, is they're reimagining it all, and they're using a lot of the Eric October designs to do it. And we also did a McBiff collab, which if anybody's noticed, the shirt.
Oh snap! Oh snap! When does that come
out? We're gonna wait until the restaurant opens, because we're gonna do a release with Dave there, because there's also some other merch that he's put together with all this homemade mod design, and it's all little elements of the Mai Kai. And so we got some cool stuff coming out with Dave, but we don't want to blow it until we can really kind of present it properly. But as far as Eric October, we've done some shirts with his drawings of like the rum barrel and the Mara Moo mug, and those I think are going to become available online. So just t-shirts currently. But as far as like the collab merch and the mugs, we're gonna wait.
Gotta wait a little bit.
Those are gonna go out with everything. I just wanted to give
that big hurrah.
Yes.
I do think there's something to be said for that. Like Frankie's Tiki Room comes to mind when they opened and they had 8 mugs. That's very rare nowadays. Usually the bar opens and the mugs come like 10 months later, because the lead times are so long. So to open the Mai Kai with merch would be really cool. And special for the people that get to experience it again first.
Oh, Martin.
Was it Martin?
Yeah.
Hey.
Martin's on there.
Martin.
I love him. The Squizologist. Sorry. Yes. We want to do it right, and we are doing it good. Yes. If you don't know Martin, he's one of my favorite people in the world. All right.
Complete random question that has nothing to do with anything, but McBiff, I believe you go drinking with McBiff around the world.
I do.
Epcot. Are you a Canada person or a Mexico person? Which direction do you go around the world?
We usually end in Mexico.
Yeah, we
end in Mexico.
I think starting in Mexico is a recipe for disaster. I think you pace yourself for Mexico, because I really love a Guinness bomb. And that's the political way to say what that is.
No,
it's the way that it should be said. And that's kind of Dave and our thing to do. So anytime he's in town, we go have Guinness bombs. So I like doing that kind of like light and refreshing, or I'll go get like a snake bite or a cider with fire whiskey.
Pim's Cup.
Carry to Pim's Cup. It's kind of like you kind of ease into it. If you start off with a tequila,
Margarita.
I mean,
downhill from there.
You're hammered by Germany, man.
Yep.
Then you go to Germany and you go do the apple corn shots, and then a giant beer, and then you go to Italy and get wine, and man, you gotta pace yourself. So I'm a Canada guy.
All right.
No.
One more question for you.
Right.
Speaking of weird alcoholic choices, now we are sponsored by Plantation Rum, and I don't usually show other liqueurs on here other than Plantation Rum, but I want to make it clear this is not a product endorsement, because I do not want to drink this stuff. But you've shared it multiple times on Instagram. You know what's coming up, Malort. This is on your Instagram not once. It's on your Instagram multiple times. Are you a Malort drinker, Typhoon Tommy? That's disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I will never say no. Okay, here's the thing. I will never pour myself a glass of Malort at home for myself. I'm not going to sit on my couch and sip a Malort. But if you've never had Malort, I will 100% drink it just to watch you drink it. And you're going to do the same damn thing once you get past the fact that you've tried Malort. Oh my God, I'm burping thinking about it. I love the social aspect of
you love watching people suffer, apparently.
Kind of.
Inevitably, you know, when someone tastes something that's horrific, their first thought is, "You've got to try this." You know, this is so bad, you have to try this.
Absolutely.
And that's you.
I love Malort. Actually, there's a bar down here. It's kind of like my home bar down here called the Boardroom. My buddy Dave owns it, and I've been talking about Malort for a while, and you couldn't get it down here. And then all of a sudden, we went to a bowling alley one night. Like that, went to the bar at a bowling alley because they wanted to check out the trivia guy because they were thinking about bringing him over to their place. And we sit down at the bar, and there's a bottle of Malort behind the bar, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Dave's like, "What?"
One of those nights.
I'm like, "Look behind the bar," and he's like, "Oh my God, shut up! Seriously?" I'm like, "We're doing it." "No, man, no, I can't." I'm like, "We're doing it." And now I buy a bottle that sits on the shelf at his bar, and we go through like a bottle a month, just in like torturing people. People ask, or people from Chicago coming like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you have Malort," and they want to have their friends try Malort. Yeah.
All right.
Well. And then I felt like a real winner one day when Malort followed me on Instagram. All of a sudden, I get a Malort follows you. I was like, I have arrived.
I thought I trusted you to renovate the Mai Kai, but I take it all back.
You see, you make bad decisions.
It's in the hands of a Malort drinker, guys. We're screwed.
I've lied the whole time.
All right, Magical Tiki Meetup. What are the origins of Magical Tiki Meetup? What is it?
I will now invite my beautiful wife into the frame.
It's more than a hand.
I am a person.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carrie Allsmiller, a.k.a. Miss Vivian Tempest, a.k.a. the singer extraordinaire of the lounge world, a.k.a. my beautiful wife.
Thank you.
I'm going to cleanse my palate with some plantation rum.
Do it.
Me too.
Do it. So Magical Tiki Meetup was a thing that I had come up with because I had seen, and this was when it was only Tiki Day at the park in Disneyland, and I had reached out to the organizers of that because I was thinking, like, wouldn't this be cool if we did this in Florida? Like, at that point in time, which what year was that? I guess 2017.
Yep.
At that point in time, it's not that we didn't have a tiki scene here in Florida. We absolutely did. It just wasn't as big as what was happening in California, and it probably still isn't, right? But there's enough people here that I was like, why don't we have something that includes all of that and something that we can do? So I had reached out to Tiki Day at the Park and was like, hey, I would love to do this in Orlando at Walt Disney World. Would you have any issue with that? And they're like, go ahead, do it. Just don't call it Tiki Day at the Park. I'm like, fine, I'll call it something else. Like, I'll pick a different name and we'll roll with that. And it's something to me, like, not that I want it to be this big, huge thing. Like, it doesn't have to be a Dapper Day, right? Where it's like just this kind of like huge thing. To me, I'm like, it's something as simple as, hey, this is the date we're meeting. Here's a simplified schedule for the day. Like, let's just all hang out so that people can network and connect and all those kind of things. So my goal in that was to simply get Orlando Tiki Ohana together. And I think it's done that in a very cool way. And now we have a lot of different kind of Orlando Tiki events that are like starting to snowball and people have connected. And so that was kind of the goal. And it's kind of gone from there, which has been awesome. So, and that's kind of how we met in the first place.
100% how we met.
Ooh. What's the story there?
The story there is, so I was working with Aku Aku in Orlando, and they wanted to do a mug. And I was like, you know, you have one of the best, biggest mug makers in the game living in Orlando. And he's been here. And that's Flounder, Scott Chidley.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, I didn't know that. I'm like, well, you guys need to use Scott. He's a local guy. It'll be a great, you know, collaboration to have like a local person make your mug. So I reached out to Scott and kind of, he was already wanting to do it. So we had been talking about it and I told him I was going to mention him. So we got Scott involved, and then a year later, you know, the mug's done and They're having a mug release party, and my buddy Scott Dieter had reached out, and he's like, "Hey, this is like not with the mug release. He just reached out around that same time. Hey, did you see that there's a new Instagram page out there called Magical Tiki Meetup, and they're trying to put all the Orlando, Central Florida, like Ohana together for an event?" I was like, "Oh, that sounds awesome." So when I was doing when Aku Aku was doing the mug release party, I was inviting a bunch of people to come, for the mug release, and I invited Magical Tiki, and they didn't have any like face to it. It was just like an entity, and
well, my goal in that was for it to be a community. Like, I didn't want it to be about a person. Like, I just wanted it to be a place where people could connect. I didn't want it to be like that. So that was kind of the point in that.
So I reached out, and they're like, "Oh, we're planning on being there," and I go to the Aku Aku, and this girl comes up and taps me on the shoulder. She's like, "Hi, are you Typhoon Tommy?" Or I didn't think I was Typhoon Tommy at the time. I was just like, "Are you Tom?"
Yeah, I think it was, "Are you Tom?"
She's like, "Are you Tom?" I'm like, I turn around, I'm like, yeah. And that was me, like, oh my God. I was with someone else at the time. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna back away. And I went and sat down next to Scott, like, oh my gosh, like, did you see that girl that's here? And Scott knew.
It's time to send the breakup text.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how we met.
Yep.
That's awesome. So what year would that have been?
That was December of 2017, right? Yeah.
I got a photo here of the crew.
Yeah,
that was our second year of doing it. Yeah, that was our second year of Magical Tiki Meetup before COVID made everything difficult for me to organize things.
Yeah. Well, you weren't alone in that. At least there's that.
Yeah. But yeah, that was, and we tried to do that picture again this year, because what's so cool about that particular photo is it's on the jungle, like the steps by the Jungle Cruise. So you can see the tiki room behind it. You can't even take that photo anymore because they've roped off the steps. Like you can't even get on there. But yeah, that was.
You're gonna take the same photo every year.
Yeah. Well, you do it because you have kind of that. I guess it's a bench area outside of the tiki room, which is great. But like you can't get kind of the full like ambiance of that whole area in Adventureland. And we tried to do that this year when we just did it in June, and like you can't take pictures there anymore. So we did it in that same place, kind of like right by the benches in front of Tiki Room. But this year it was fun because Jack Sparrow was coming off of his character shift, and he's like walking into this group of like 50 people in tiki attire, and he's like, what's going on, and he's in the middle of our photo, and it's fantastic. Like his handler took all the photos for us. And it was like a fun.
See, pirate and tiki, they mix together.
It happens, right? Like it was a fun time. Like so getting back in the swing of that, and we're excited to be partnering with Tiki A Go-Go and doing that coming up in April. So that'll be really fun.
So that's a question I have. Tiki A Go-Go. What is Tiki A Go-Go? There hasn't been a Tiki A Go-Go before, right? This is going to be the first one.
So what it is it's kind of like your Tiki Weekender.
Okay.
But they've studied all the Tiki Weekenders, and just kind of want to try to make it things that they think they can change or things that they can make better. So it's kind of like a new take on it, but it's very, very much a Tiki Weekender. This one's going to be very educational. I think they want to do a lot of symposiums and classes and stuff. A lot of cool presenters, a lot of stuff about bars, artists. So they want to really kind of make it unique and special to Central Florida, and it's right around the corner from Disney. So they asked us if we'd get involved. Jose and Jenna and Jason Westcote are kind of, and his wife are steamrolling this whole thing, and they just reached out and they're like, would you guys be interested in doing Sunday and doing another Magical Tiki? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so people that go to Tiki Go-Go, right? So you go in probably Friday, Saturday. I don't know if Thursday's involved, but Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday is the Magical Tiki Meetup. You got to go to Disneyland.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a ticketed event in the way of like you have to buy a thing for Magical Tiki. But what you do have to do is get ticket to the theme park.
Yeah. So that's like with this type of thing, like if you want to do the Sunday event, you need to have a ticket for that Sunday, whether that's you're an annual pass holder, and we check to make sure that it's not a blackout day. You know, you have the ability for the different pass holders to go, or if you don't have a pass, then you will need a park ticket for that day because Disney is still working on a reservation system.
Okay.
So you'll have to do that reservation for that day. So it's not included in the price of Tiki A Go-Go because there's no way to like do that. Mm-hmm. So that would be something that you would have to do separately if you choose to do that on that Sunday.
And it's kind of just like an informal. You get your park ticket and then you guys post like meet here at this time.
Exactly.
You know,
so a lot of times, like in the morning, we'll meet for the picture. We'll go do Jungle Cruise after that, and then directly after that, go to Tiki Room. So it creates just kind of an easy way for people to just be in that area and go from one thing to the next. And then we'll normally, you know, take a break for lunch wherever people want to go. A lot of people end up going to Skipper Canteen because it kind of like rolls with the day.
And they have alcohol.
Well, all of the main restaurants now at Magic Kingdom serve beer and wine.
Is that true? All of them?
Yeah, so all of the major ones. So
okay.
Not like all of the walk-up stuff, but if you go to Be Our Guest, if you go to Crystal Palace, a lot of the kind of main sit-down restaurants will now serve beer and wine in Walt Disney World. They don't serve hard liquor, but they serve those. And then normally in the afternoon, about 2-ish or so, we'll do like a Dole Whip social. So everyone go grab your Dole Whip, come hang out, meet people, whatever. And then in the evening, it kind of ends up at the Polynesian Resort. Go to whatever bar you want. We try to do a group photo there if we can. But it's more about just like bringing people together. So the schedule is pretty basic, but then, you know, like we want people to enjoy too because people have spent the money to like be in the park, like have time to go do the things you want to do too. Like you love Haunted Mansion, go do it. You love Pirates, go do it. You love, you know, Big Thunder Mountain, go do it. So trying to keep it just, you know, more about the community building and things like that.
I love that because all of in particular, the timing, all the Tiki events that I've been to, I could name them, but it's pretty much the case with all of them. Sunday's kind of like a burn day, right?
Yeah.
You go hard on Friday and Saturday, you have a good time, and then Sunday rolls around and people are just kind of like standing around like, what do we do?
Speaking of, we may want to do a later.
We'll figure it out. We probably will do a later first meeting. Well, considering the fact that Saturday night at Tiki A Go-Go, there's going to be a jazz band. I'm singing with the jazz band. Later, there's going to be a burlesque show that goes with that. Tom is emceeing. So Saturday night's going to be a little bit little for us too, as far as everyone else. So we may be shifting some things around as far as like
walking zombies through Adventureland.
Yeah. We're all going to go straight to Haunted Mansion. They're going to put us in the ride.
Now there's 1,238 souls in the Haunted Mansion.
There's always room for some more.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at this latest comment. I had a question. Does the price of the tickets go into including a mug? I don't think it includes the mug, but it includes priority access to the mug release on certain tickets. If you go to tikieagogo.com and if you go to their ticketing page, you can see the different tiers of tickets and what that includes. So I recommend if you do have questions about that, go on there and check it out and see what tier of ticket works best for you, depending on what you want and what you need. Because I don't know exactly if it includes everything, but there's like 3 different tickets on there. So
I mean, if you reach out to Jason.
Yeah, they've been great. Like they've been great about answering questions and all those types of things. So go check out their website. There it is, tikieagogoevent.com.
Actually, I saw Jason Westcoat in the comments.
I know
earlier.
Jason's somewhere in here.
They haven't announced the mug, right?
I
I
don't
don't
so.
think so.
Okay.
I do not think so.
And I'm the wrong one to ask. I haven't come up for air on anything other than Mai Kai.
Wait, we already talked about this. You have plenty of time.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy. Like I just started a new job to be, I mean, part of the reason, not the only reason, but part of the reason is to simply see him because he's here all the time. So
Oh, and I also didn't bring up.
He actually
about
likes
Mai
you,
Kai.
Tommy.
I guess. Actually, I forgot to bring up too. One of the other exciting things about the Mai Kai that has a lot to do with the sponsor of this video. Well, not that one.
Mm-hmm.
We
This
developed
one?
We developed a new rum with that group, and it's a Mai Kai branded rum.
No.
Maybe
No,
not.
It's 100% true. It's 100% happening.
And it will be 100% delicious.
And it's delicious.
You don't know more details about it, do you?
I know a lot of details about it. I don't know what I'm allowed to say though.
Probably don't.
So just putting it out there in the ether that it's going to be good.
I know that it's a lot of it is from the West Indies distillery, and the rest of it is from Jamaican distilleries. What we're basically trying to do is recreate the dagger rums, the funky dagger rums that funky smooth. They're complex. The original Kahala Bays and the dagger rums that the drinks were made with originally, and they're no longer available. So we're trying to formulate a new blend, and they've very kindly included me in some of the tastings. So I love it. I think it's going to be amazing. And the branding on the bottle is unbelievable. I think it's CIR Creative, CYR.
No, wait. Someone put it in the comments.
Oh, I was probably Jim Hayward.
CYR. Yeah, it was Jim Hayward. CYR.
Oh, Jason Westcoat is in the comments. He said, "Aloha."
You can book him as designing the mug.
It's all about Florida, baby.
Yeah, this whole episode, it's all about Florida. John Mulder over in Ekambukum. That's going to be a sick mug then.
Yeah, so CYR is doing the label design, and it's beautiful. It's coming in a box, but it's not really a sipping rum. It's a blending rum. It's a mixing rum. So it's dagger rums were never like, hey, let's sit around and drink some dagger. It was like, hey, this is really interesting flavor profile that's coming out of my zombie or my Mai Tai. So the original drinks that they were developing at the Mai Kai, they would have this rum that could fight through the fruit juice and give its own flavor profile and not just be there to be an alcoholic content. So it's exciting, and it's been a really cool experience to come up with that. I'm really excited for that to come out.
I cannot wait for that, dude.
Yeah,
that is such exciting news. I love it. Here's a question for you.
It's overproof. Sorry, Jim's saying all the things I'm forgetting, and it's 100 proof.
Thanks, Jim.
Atomic Grog. We got to give some love to the Atomic Grog, especially for sharing this interview with you.
Well,
so thank you to Atomic Grog.
The big thing that Jim and Atomic Grog has been doing is, he's kind of like the reporter on the scene, and he'll come out every week or two and kind of do an update, and he'll do a whole blog post. So if you really want to follow along on everything that's happening on the Mai Kai, Jim and the Atomic Grog is your source for doing it. And what's really nice about it is, normally it's me having to kind of carry my social media along with, building a place, but this one has like so much of my brain. Like I'm not doing a tiny room or a little manufactured house. I'm doing a cathedral, and I don't have time to sit and, do a Facebook page or, keep up with my Instagram page. So Jim coming out has been a really big help. Just kind of keeping everybody involved, because everybody wants to know what's going on. So it's been nice having him on board with all that. So follow Atomic Grog if you don't already.
100%. On Instagram, I think it's the Atomic Grog. So at the Atomic Grog on Instagram, I believe so.
I'll believe you.
Okay, so one more question on Tiki A Go Go. I don't know if it's too early to say. A couple different events just for comparison. Tiki Oasis in San Diego. Tons of people there, more people than can possibly do anything. So there's a lot of counter programming, right? So it's almost like if you do this, you can't do that. Whereas Tiki and Waikiki, as another example.
Sorry, Chris Bonomo.
I love you, Chris. Hug the monkey.
Chris. Dude, I haven't seen Chris Bonomo in too long. I think the last time I saw him was at the Grass Skirt.
Oh, man. That came from one of our Corn Tiki interviews that we did with him.
Corn Tiki Chronicles.
We drank an entire bottle.
He drank an entire bottle of scotch.
Of monkey shoulder. And then I put on
Dude, you just have like.
You put on my caftan. It was caftan hour at midnight.
I went full zebra. Sorry.
Continue.
We're sidetracked.
So that's still on there, right? If people want to.
Oh, they're all still on there.
Yeah, they're also on our Magical Tiki Meetup Instagram page.
There you go. Magical Tiki Meetup on Instagram. Watch the Kristen Elmo
Go
episode.
see Typhoon Tommy in a caftan.
They're a moment in time. Good times.
Dude,
Those
I got.
were days, Chris. You said it. All right, I'm sorry.
Let's stop derailing with the comment section. I love everyone. I love you all. Thanks you all for being here.
The comments.
It's been amazing. You guys are hilarious. I wish the comments stuck with the full repost.
So they do.
Do they?
So YouTube, it's a delay while the video is processing, right? So if you go back to watch YouTube within the first 24 hours, the comments won't be there. But if you watch it a day later, it'll give you the live feed of all the comments.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So they'll be there.
Go read the comments, everyone. They're awesome.
So wait, continue. Sorry.
Where were we?
So anyways, Tiki Oasis has counter programming. Tiki and Waikiki, it's more like this is what you're doing, throughout the day. And there's one thing going on at a time. Do you know, is Tiki a go-go? Is there going to be like choosing what you want to do, like choose your own adventure, or is it going to be more structured and like you just kind of go with pack?
I am not the one for that answer.
Jason, if you're still watching, please enter in the comments.
Yeah.
Answer that question.
Well,
I don't know.
We don't know.
I mean, I know that I think I'm
I know
part of
there's a lot of presenters for sure. Like they've got some awesome people lined up to present.
amazing people. And I think I'm doing 2 presentations. I'm doing one with my dad about 20,000 Leagues, and I'm doing one with Jim Hayward and Atomic Rog and Kern about the Mai Kai, as far as I know.
That makes
I
sense.
haven't signed the paperwork, but I think that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Oh, Jason commented, choose your own adventure. So you'll have lots of choices of things you want to go do whenever you want to go do them, depending on who's speaking when.
All right, buddy. Since you couldn't answer that question, maybe you can explain this.
It's one of my favorite photos I took.
Maybe if I scroll in and out, it'll look like you're dancing a little bit.
Am I supposed to be eating hot wings right now?
Yeah.
What's going on?
That's an Instagram deep dive. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you
That
want
was
some more?
like the Polynesian fire, right?
So that was a fun one. So we have an Orlando Ohana here, just like a group of probably about 15 of us or so. And we decided that we all wanted to go to Daytona for the Polynesian Fire show at the Hawaiian Inn. Just to kind of like do a group trip and, and have a lot of fun. And the Hawaiian Inn was full of Whitco too. It was an amazing, it was run down, but it was like a moment in time. The hurricane actually took it out, so it's kind of sad. But anyways, they had a Polynesian Fire dance show, and everybody went and bought tickets, and I went and bought tickets for Carrie and I. And like 5 minutes later, I get a message from this guy, Jason, and he goes, "Hey, did you just buy tickets for the Polynesian Fire show?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Tell you what, I'm going to give you the tickets for free. Just do me a favor and post it on your Instagram page." I was like, "Deal. Okay, let's do it." So we go to the Polynesian Fire show, and it gets time for the hula dancing crowd participation part. And I always kind of like duck back. Like I don't want to. As much as I love being on stage, I don't want to be on stage.
I'll sit in the middle so that I'm not easily accessible.
So they come off the stage and they beeline directly to me. Like just
it was a setup. It was a setup.
Freaking setup, man. Full setup. And they like all come at me. I'm like, no, I'm good. They're like, nope, you're coming. I'm like, okay. So they pull me towards the back room because they're going to put the grass skirt and the coconuts on me. And there's a guy over in the darkness sitting at a table in the back. And he looks, he goes, "Nothing's free." And it's the owner of Polynesian Fire.
Of course it is. Of course.
Yeah.
We'll show this one more time. Look at that expression.
Showing one more time, 100%. Please show everyone.
Right there.
Yep.
Oh,
Now you know. If someone offers you free tickets, the answer is no. The answer is yes, I will pay for them.
I do. It was fun. I'd do it again. It's going to be on my tombstone, I'm sure.
That picture.
That picture, just like, well, they got laser carvers now. It can be done.
There you go.
Yep. So,
with that said, guys, inevitably, you know, it's been 2.5 hours. I think this is the longest 13 Nights of Tiki Frights I've ever done. I kind of had a sneaking suspicion going into this that it would end up being long, but that's okay because I love talking with you guys. It's always a pleasure.
It's been a while, man. Nice.
Yeah, nice. We got to announce a winner.
Ooh, yeah, that's a cool mug.
Yes, made by Patrick
awesome,
in Florida and Ashley. Monkey Skull, give them a follow, and it's going on sale I think tomorrow from @CursedIdol on Instagram. So if you are unlucky and you do not win it, you still have a chance. You can go buy the mug. It hasn't been released yet. So with that said, we're going to take a quick closer look at it, and then I'm going to announce the winner. Here we go. The winner is, congratulations, Scott Stevenson. Scott Stevenson, you have won the One Wild Ride cocktail mug from @CursedIdol on Instagram. Congratulations to Scott Stevenson. With that said, we are sponsored by Plantation Rum. We mentioned a few times. This is the XO 20th anniversary great sipping rum. Apparently, there's going to be a Plantation Rum coming to a Mai Kai. So we can look forward to that. We're also sponsored by Don the Beachcomber, which is another iconic, legendary brand that is coming back. It's coming back to Florida. And we are excited to talk to someone from Don the Beachcomber on our next live interview this coming Sunday. We're going to dig into Don the Beachcomber. So I'm super stoked about that. We're also sponsored by Tiki Farm. Holden Westland was our guest last night. Holden Westland is driving the tiki mug industry, keeping it cheap and affordable for everyone while also delivering quality mugs that you can be proud to display on your shelves. They're some of my all-time favorite mugs that he collaborates with amazing tiki artists like Flounder, who was mentioned earlier on this episode. And with that said, Typhoon Tommy, your lovely bride, thank you so much for being on the show once again. It's been 3 years or so since the Tiki Chronicles and the caftan incident with Chris Bonomo.
I love everything you're doing, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I remember right as the website launched, you guys were the first, I don't think that's a lie, the first people to reach out and be like, hey, this is really cool what you're doing. So I had never before that opened myself up to anything on the internet per se. And to be embraced so quickly by you guys meant a lot. So thank you so much. I love what you're doing with the Mai Kai. I'm excited to see it open. Hopefully, spring 2024. I won't hold you to it. Hopefully, you get better taste in some of your cocktails. In the meantime. And with that said, that's it. So have a good night. And we'll see you on our next live on Sunday.
Thank you. Also, if you want to follow along, it's Typhoon Tommy on Instagram. It's the one that has my photo and not the one of a jet ski guy.
He's not the jet ski guy.
I'm not the jet ski guy.
And then you wish you were the jet ski guy.
I know, right?
Alas.
And also follow my YouTube channel, and hopefully I'll get more stuff on there.
At some point.
If you need a little inspiration on building, I got some cool stuff up there.
Also, if you want information about Magical Tiki Meetup events, that's Magical Tiki Meetup on Instagram. We're also on Facebook at Magical Tiki Meetup, so that's all there too.
There's also Tiki A Go Go.
Yeah,
and
Tiki A Go Go
on
Instagram. So if you guys want to come be a part of that, which I'm really excited, I think it's going to be a great event. It's about time Florida had some more events like this, and I think it's going to be a good thing.
And go check out The Suffering Bastard, and go stay at Mauna Nui for a magical morning.
That's what it's all about. It's all an
coffee,
Mauna Nui.
Coffee on the balcony. on the little front porch overlooking the little retention pond they have there. It's wonderful. It's beautiful.
Sign the guest book. Oh, and Atomic Rock. Follow Atomic Rock.
And Atomic Rock.
Updates on the Mai Kai. And we probably forgot some more people, but that's okay.
You know who you are. I love you.
All right, guys.
Yes.
Have a good night. We'll see you on Sunday.